Where are the low-value men?
The hijacker's passport was found blocks from the World Trade Center crash site. You can believe that. You can believe that. You can believe that.
Contracted COVID, but says with a mixture of medicines, including the controversial horse dewormer that has poisoned hundreds of people nationwide, he's now recovered.
He was the best guy around.
What about the people he murdered?
What murder?
From the headlines to the whisper start. Low value mail, we'll get the mark. Low value mail at 9 o'clock. Where truth and fiction take a walk.
Why don't you swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon? You're a coward and a liar and a thief.
Our stories are.
Welcome back to all the scroats and the female scroats to an all-new episode of Low Value Mail on this Monday, April 7th, 2025, the year of our Lord. I'm already getting some fucking bitrate thing from YouTube. The stream's current bitrate, 10,802, is higher than the recommended bitrate, which I have set at 10,000 exactly. Shut up, YouTube. Welcome back, everybody. And shut up, YouTube. We got a banger of an episode. It's episode number 143. And joining me in the second hour, we have Matt Crumpton. I like that name. It's a solid name. Matt Crumpton from the Solving JFK podcast. He's been a guest on the show before. He's coming back in light of all the new JFK stuff, the files. He's quite the expert. If you don't know who he is, like I said, host of the Solving JFK podcast. He was recently invited to the congressional hearings on the JFK assassination, or the files being released. That's at Congress in America. That's a big deal, guys. Oliver Stone was there. James DiEugenio was also there. We got a couple super chats. We have Logan. It says first. Can't argue with it. He was the first one. And then we have ZB, or he's Canadian, actually. So that would be ZB. I know it sounds absolutely idiotic saying it, but ZB, not ZB, ZB, because that's what we say in Canada. We say Z. Tried to explain that to my wife. She's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I go, I don't even know, but we say Zed. He says, Danny Pierre is in Edmonton tonight. 8 to 11,000 people are expected at the rally. Let's fucking go. Well, I actually had nothing on Canada prepared for this episode, but all I can say is it is not looking good for that dude. I believe he's currently at 28% on Polymarket to be the next Prime Minister of Canada. Not looking great. Not looking great. Before I start the show, I want to give a shout out, very special shout out to Cosmo for being the first medium value King of the Scroats member on the Patreon. It's $25 a month. He's the only one. And what he gets is to look down his nose at the rest of you lowly scroats while also helping me continue doing the show in the bathhouse. So shout out to Cosmo. Shout out to all of you, though, but specifically shout out to Cosmo. And we have the super chat goal. If I hit it, 20 super chats, we will do an extra 30 minutes of open lines where you can call in whatever the hell you want to talk about. Whatever the hell. Okay, so, I mean, biggest story in the world. If only a gay Canadian Jewish podcaster had been talking about this at all. But it's the biggest story in the world, tariffs. Sometimes I'm like, I don't want to talk about this anymore. I felt like I already talked about it enough, but it's the biggest story. I don't even know what else I would talk about. And I'm in a unique position of being the most knowledgeable comedian on tariffs, potentially. I mean, in terms of like people who actually know what they're talking about, I'm not even the top 1,000. I'm not even the top 500,000 probably. But for comedians, who hosts call-in shows on YouTube on Monday nights, I like to think I'm probably numero uno. So the question is, I mean, I'm curious, how many of you own stocks? How many of you own stocks? You got a 401k? I mean, the 401k stuff, to be honest, because everybody was like, 401k, you know, it's like, well, my 401k is getting fucked over. And obviously, if you're older, that does stink, because you might need the money soon. But if you're like in your 30s or 40s, like, really, who gives a shit if your stocks drop 15% in 3 days? I know, obviously, it's jarring, but I think you can't touch your 401k until you're like in your 60s. So to be honest, I know that like people still don't like to look at it and be like, oh, I lost all this money on paper, but it's not a loss until you sell. My question is, are we having fun yet? Is this fun yet? Reagan says, I'm a stockbroker. That's crazy if that's the case. I find, for some reason, I find it hard to believe that any of you have any sort of gainful employment. I imagine most of you, not all of you, but most of you subside economically on kind of just like walking by a building site, you know, like on like a home that's, you know, being built and stripping it of the copper wires and any sort of metals that might be there and then selling it for scrap. That's what I think. So it's hard to say. I mean, it's really hard to say. But again, nobody said that restructuring the entire global trading system would be painless. Nobody promised that. Certainly nobody promised that. We knew that there was going to be some kinks to iron out. Trump has about 19, let me check my watch, 19 months left to figure this out, which is kind of, that would be stressful if I was him. Like, again, I don't know his levels of giving a shit at this point, but you got to think he wants his full 4 years. And I tweeted this. A lot of people got mad about this, but I was like, if the stock market is not appreciably higher by the midterms, or no, sorry, I said this, but by the end of his full term, AOC will probably be the next president. Like if the stock market's just where it is at today in 4 years, literally probably AOC will be the next president of the United States. Scary stuff. But he probably has, he has 19 months to figure this out. Juice up the stock market, make people richer, maybe get rid of income tax, like I've been saying. And I will say, because the whole tariff thing, all his fancy little list of I don't know if you guys caught that. He had a little party in the Rose Garden at the White House. And he had his nice printed off list of countries and the tariffs that they charge and the sweet deal that they'll be getting back from the United States. Some of the shit doesn't make sense to me. Now, again, most of this stuff, I know I talk about this a lot. I'm gonna level with you guys. I barely know what I'm talking about with this stuff. I think I'm good at faking knowing, but I know a little bit, but not that much. But a lot of this doesn't make sense to me. So he announced his things on Wednesday. As predicted on this show, every country got it. Every fucking country, even the country with the penguins. What is it? The McDonald Islands or whatever in the Antarctic, where nobody lives. And now I understand. I heard Howard Lutnick give the explanation because they were getting killed on the whole thing. They were tariffing the penguins. We got some good memes out of it. At the very minimum, we had a couple days of funny memes. At which point, what is this? I don't know what he does. Howard Lutnick, something in money, Jew stuff, right? But he basically was like, yeah, because what happens is if we didn't tariff this island where only penguins live, then some country will just ship all their shit there and be like, hey, this comes from the McDonald Islands, so no tariff. So they put 10% tariffs on the McDonald Islands where currently 0 people reside. But literally every country in the world got tariffs. The rollout could have done a lot better. The world markets are not liking the way this was rolled out. And understandably, because first off, they call them reciprocal tariffs, which you would think by definition of those two words, reciprocal, right? They go, you're tariffing us this, so we're going to tariff you a reciprocal amount. And then their whole chart goes, we're giving everybody a deal. We're not even going tit for tat. It's like, you tariff us 50%, we'll just do 25%. However, they're not reciprocal tariffs. Like Laos is on there, the country where I famously got dengue fever. Nice country. Very poor country. The hospital I was in was not cool. It was not cool. The hospital, I literally got dengue fever. I don't know if I ever talked about this on the show. I probably have, but I literally open air hospital. Like I was in, you know, whatever, the emergency room or whatever it would be, and I could see the clouds. They had no roof. I wouldn't even call it ghetto because it was probably for them pretty nice. But anyways, Laos on the list goes 95% tariffs. Laos does not have 95% tariffs on the United States. They just don't. They have a massive trade imbalance, which is basically what these numbers ended up being. The list says tariffs charged to the USA include currency manipulation, trade barriers. So essentially the number is just the trade deficit, and then these tariffs, that they are real tariffs being charged to them, are meant to deal essentially to balance things out. But that can never happen. There's no scenario in the world that could ever happen where Laos and America would have an equal number of imports and exports. It's impossible. Like, I looked it up. Now, Laos does have a massive trade imbalance because they have some electronics assembly shit going on there, likely done by China, which is, we'll talk about that in a bit. But China, essentially, the reason why Vietnam makes iPhones and all this stuff is because the first time Trump slapped all these tariffs on China, and it is to Trump's defense, this is what they were doing. They go, oh, well, if China has a tariff, we'll just make our shit in Vietnam and we'll just bypass these tariffs. And they probably did that same shit with Laos. Not necessarily Apple, but, you know, similar producers of things, right? But again, I've been to Laos. Very poor. I looked it up. The average annual income in Laos, $2,150. Annual income. The average Laotian person does not make $200 a month. So literally, it's impossible for them to buy enough American goods to compensate for that. So I don't even care that Trump is doing this. Like, if he just goes, yo, we're just going to make America richer at the expense of every other country in the world. That's just what we're doing, okay? We're the number one consumer of goods in the world. We're the number one purchaser of all this bullshit. We're just getting ours, okay? Sorry, Laos. Sorry that, and Laos was famous during the Vietnam War because American bombers would go on like bombing missions, and whatever, this is so fucked up, whatever bombs they, I guess, didn't drop on Vietnam, just to save, I guess, fuel or make sure they had enough fuel to get back. This is at least the story I've been told. They would just drop them on Laos just out of convenience. I don't know if that's true. When I say it, it sounds bullshit, but it was fucked up. I remember you'd go there in Laos and they would have like, there'd be mines everywhere. Like you would just see all these kids. Well, it wouldn't be kids. No, there sometimes actually would be kids, but like they had all these mines that were planted during the Vietnam War and they were just forgotten about. So you could just be like taking your dog for a walk 30 years later, 40 years later, just boom, your fucking leg gets blown off because they're like, yeah, we just forgot where we put them. Whoops. Oops. But again, Americans buy a lot from Laos because their wages are so low. And that's why they can make these cheap goods. And I see a lot of debates going back and forth with this whole, yeah, let's bring back manufacturing. I talked about this last week. I'm like, does America want to be manufacturing everything? Every single thing? Like, you know, and you see the thing, and again, I don't even know if this is true. Everybody wants to scare, a lot of scare tactics going on right now where they say, hey, You know, they show that Dave Chappelle clip where they go, yeah, if an iPhone's made in America, it's going to be $8,000. And you go, well, it can't be because nobody's going to pay it. Right? It can't be $8,000 because nobody will pay $8,000 for an iPhone. So something's got to give somewhere. I don't know. But, and you know, the part of the chart says that they're manipulating their currency. Laos, they only accept US dollars. They have some bullshit funny money currency that nobody there uses. Like if you go to Laos and you're like, hey, I'd like to pay you in your local currency. They're like, can we please have US dollars? They're much safer, which is, you know, where a lot of this whole thing comes from. A lot of this whole issue with America's strong dollar and these trade imbalances and comes from the fact that you can spend a US dollar any country in the world. I can't spend a Canadian dollar in New York City. If I walked into a fucking bodega and I go, I have a $20 Canadian bill, they'd be like, get the fuck out of here. Go to a bank. Go to currency exchange. We do not accept this. I've sometimes come back from Canada and I have some change and I'll try and buy something and, you know, I'll have a Canadian quarter and they fish that shit out immediately. Like you can't even spend a Canadian quarter in this country because it's garbage. It's literally, to them, it is garbage. It is just, you might have handed them a fucking washer. They go, what am I going to do with this? Nothing. So, you know, part of the strategy, I guess, is, just making every country on earth poorer and the U.S. less poor relatively, I suppose, which might be a good strategy. I don't know. Like I mentioned, this stuff's a little bit out of my pay grade. I'm just kind of thinking out loud. I don't really know, but I mean, all the world markets have been hit a lot. Like if you think it's bad here, it's way worse everywhere else. Everywhere is getting fucking killed compared to America. So if that's the strategy, where we just go, look, we're just going to weaken everybody else, and I guess hopefully America just bounces back and they all stay poor. Have fun staying poor, people. You Laotian pieces of shit. I apologize to the Laotians. Very nice people. Good food too. I had a good time there, except for I had dengue fever like the entire time I was in Laos. So it wasn't great. But yeah, I don't know. This whole thing might work. It's so crazy. It might work. I don't really know. I honestly don't even think Trump for sure knows if this shit is going to work. He's kind of just hoping. He goes, this is very much swinging for the fences. Previous administrations, it's all singles and doubles. Not to use a baseball analogy, even though I am. Singles and doubles. That's what we're going for. It's just hitting singles and doubles. Trump's just like Ryan Howard from the Phillies, if you remember him, or like Adam Dunn. You go homer or strikeout. Nothing else. It's the only things I do. I just hit homers, just sock dingers, strike out a ton. And we're hoping for this. I saw an interesting thing, though, and this is back to this whole thing, because some of the talking points coming out of Trump administration are, in my opinion, somewhat detached from reality. So Stephen Miller, man looks like a human weasel. He's Trump's deputy chief of staff. And also, fun little fact, when all those Duke lacrosse players in the early 2000s all got accused of rape, he was a student at Duke, and he was on TV defending them. Weird how that works. But he wrote this on X, formerly known as Twitter. We have a $53 billion annual automotive trade deficit with Japan, $40 billion auto deficit with Europe, $50 billion auto deficit with South Korea. Cold, hard math. Our allies have shut their markets to our cars, while our markets have been flooded with theirs. This was all deliberate. Aren't American cars shit? I thought that was the reason. Have I missed something? Have I been so out of the loop? Besides Teslas, which they have their own problems right now, being they're basically like the new VW. They're like the new Nazi mobile, essentially. At least to some people, obviously. I don't believe that. But, they got a stink on them. No question. But aren't American cars like dog shit? Like, isn't that the whole thing? That, like, it's the reason Japan doesn't have American cars is not because of tariffs. You take them down to zero. They're going to be like, yeah, we're good. We have Nissans and Hondas, Toyotas. Like, there's a reason why every Uber and taxi in New York City and probably everywhere else is a Toyota Camry and not a Ford Fusion. My friend bought a Ford Fusion, 10 years ago. The engine was knocking in like a year. They're just not good cars. This is crazy to me that they think that this is the problem. That this is like, unless they can make them, I don't think American cars are way cheaper, and they're not going to be way cheaper if they're in Japan. Like Germany, you think Germans want to drive fucking Fords? You know how cheap they can get like Mercedes and Audis and shit there? They don't want this shit. So some of this stuff just doesn't make sense to me. And you know, maybe the American pickup trucks are good, even though I still don't think they're better than Japanese pickup trucks. I know there's a whole like, you know, brand around them, and people are very brand loyal to their trucks. And I mean, literally people's entire identities are tied around what truck they drive, the brand of truck that they drive. And, you know, literally if you're a Ford guy and someone as a GM, they are literally gay, and vice versa. That's just how that works. And I think the Ford, the F-150, solid truck. For the most part, though, American cars are dog shit. Unless something changed. Maybe tell me. I haven't owned a car in 6 years. So maybe something happened in the last 6 years where American cars are awesome. But last I checked, they suck. And I don't think any sort of tariff or anything is going to change that. So, and I'm going to open up the phones shortly. Whatever you want to talk about. We don't have to talk about this. It just seems to be the biggest story in the world. Seems like this entire tariff battle, though, as much as, you know, because they're coming out today and they go, oh, all these countries want to make a deal. There's only one country that matters in terms of deal making with all this tariff stuff. It's China. China, which now has an additional 50% tariff due to their retaliation. That's like maybe one of my favorite things with this whole tariff thing with Trump is he literally goes, you're getting tariffs, and if you retaliate, you're getting more tariffs. What's that thing? The beatings will stop once morale improves. It's kind of like that. He goes, if the morale doesn't get better, you get more beatings. So Trump's goes an additional 50% tariff, which means all the Chinese garbage we buy, which, by the way, I actually did not plan on talking about this, but this is a weird thing. And this is actually kind of getting me on Team America right here. So, my wife and I, we buy treats for our dog. Okay. There's this place, it's like a chain in, I don't know if I think it's an American chain. It's called Just Food for Dogs. They make like fresh dog food, but they also have like dog treats, right? So I was looking on Amazon and I was reading reviews about them, and people were like, yeah, there's Mexican ones. There's made in Mexico dog treats from the same company, same bag, same everything. They go, some of them are made in Mexico. The made in Mexico ones are worse. They're these like chicken strips, just like a chicken breast, which, by the way, guys, if you're looking for a fucking side hustle, $60 a pound for dehydrated chicken, $4 a pound at the grocery store, $60 a pound if you just say it's for dogs. It's fucking crazy, okay? But so all these people are complaining on Amazon. They sent me the Mexican ones and they break apart and they're not as good, right? So then we have a bag in our fridge and I go, oh, I wonder if the ones we have, which we actually don't even buy online, we buy them from the store. I wonder if these are the Mexican ones or the American ones. I grab the bag, go to the back. I go, where is this made? Can't find it anywhere. Well, that's weird. And then there's a little sticker, this little black sticker on the bag. And it says, made with love. Well, that's a weird place to put the sticker. What a weird place. Just like in the middle. It's like not even the middle. It's like the bottom right-hand corner. Just says tiny stickers, that big. And just says made with love. I go, I wonder what's under this sticker. Peel back the sticker. Product of Mexico. Well, that's fucked up. They purposely are deceiving people. They literally took a sticker that says made with love, put it on the back of, it's not on the front. It's not like on the thing that says made with love. It's not their branding. It's like, this is some of the sketchiest shit. They literally took a made with love thing and someone probably, their whole job is to just put made with love sticker over product of Mexico. Just all day. That's all they do is just hide their Mexican shame for outsourcing this product. Again, $60 for a pound of chicken breast. This is fucking criminal. Okay. It's insane. I understand that there's costs associated with packaging, with processing it. I get that. I'm not saying it should be $4 a pound, but $60 a pound. It's a 1,500% markup. Just because you shaved some chicken and dehydrated it? Fuck that. I know I'm not going to go make it myself, but still. And then anyways, and then the next day, so I'm looking on Amazon. I go, okay, I want to find an American one. I want to support the country I live in. Also, I don't know what chicken's like in other countries, although apparently all the other countries say the chicken bad's here. Who knows? So I go order this company. They go, American company since 1978. Proudly American. The reviews are good. Everybody says my dog loves this shit. So I order this tub of chicken strips. Comes the next day. I go, my wife's like, where's it made? I go, it's said they're an American company, made in America, all that stuff. And she goes, are you sure? And so I grab the tub, turn it around, can't find it again. And then I look and there's some random sticker on it. Peel off the sticker, which was very hard to do, made in China. So this is Chinese chicken. It's ridiculous. It honestly, like, it proves what Trump's saying. It's like all these companies are offshoring all this shit to China. But the worst part is, like, look, if you want to sell me Chinese chicken, you want to sell me Mexican chicken, that's fine. You have to tell me that, though. You can't lie. You can't literally hide that. Imagine I said that this podcast was made in America. I'm Canadian, okay? That's just how it is. So anyways, this whole battle, it was a total tangent. I was not expecting to even bring that up. But it's fucked up what they're doing. And the Chinese need to pay for it. And the Mexicans. And the Canadians, for that matter. Although you never get stuff made in Canada because there's no cheap labor up there. I mean, there is, like Tim Hortons, but you don't want that. You don't want that. But so this whole China scenario, this is going to be the big one. This is going to be the big one. This is going to be the big battle right here. It's going to be America and China because nobody gives a shit if Thailand drops their tariffs. Doesn't matter. Okay. And, China does all sorts of bad shit. They send us their chicken saying it's American made, currency manipulation. They love to just steal everybody's intellectual property. I didn't even mention the China virus, which they unleashed on this fucking planet. Was it an accident? I don't know. I'm not saying it wasn't an accident. It might have been on purpose. And now maybe they invade Taiwan. Maybe that's because, their economy is actually in tough shape. Everybody kind of thinks they're like, yeah, China's doing great. China's doing so good. They're not doing that good. They don't have enough people. They have too many old people. Their stupid one-child policy, which probably seemed smart at the time, has completely backfired. They don't have enough people. So maybe now we get an invasion of Taiwan. Maybe we get a full hot war between America and China. Maybe that's what this leads to. It's not, I'll tell you, not an impossibility. And here's the thing is neither Trump nor Xi Jinping want to look weak here. And Trump's not going to look weak here. He is not caving. I mean, this morning, the stock market was down close to 5%. Some random dude puts out a fucking tweet saying that Scott Bessent or whatever said that they're going to pause tariffs for 90 days while they figure things out. Just a random tweet from this account, from some financial account, from some random dude. It's not even, nobody knows who he is. Stock market rips 10%. Literally $4 trillion out of thin air gets made or whatever. And then the White House just comes out. They could have waited all day to deny it. Let everybody have their fun. No, instantly they're like, fuck that. No. We're not caving on shit. So maybe China invades Taiwan, takes away our sweet, sweet GPUs. No more Studio Ghibli memes. This is very serious. You guys don't understand how serious this is. We might lose the Studio Ghibli memes. Is that how you say it? I don't know. But anyways, this will be very interesting to see how this all plays out. Maybe we get war. And an interesting thing is this guy, Nouriel Roubini, they call him Dr. Doom. He's like an economist. He was one of the main guys cited in that paper I always reference about restructuring the global financial system, which is what's based off of this entire thing. Their whole plan. He's kind of shit-talking Trump. He's like, Trump's kind of fucking up. Saying he's delusional and he needs to de-escalate this whole thing, but that he won't. And that it's kind of, we'll see who balks first, I guess. I don't know. But this dude is like referenced in this paper 50 times. He's good friends with the guy who wrote it. So you think he would be like a fucking on board with this shit. And he's like, no, he's like, Trump's actually fucking up. This is not how to do this. So we shall see. All right. Phone lines are open. 1-888-949-2969. What do you want to talk about? It's the open line section of the show. ZB says, I couldn't care less about Canada. All I care about is Berta. Once the Libs steal the election, all is fair game. I have a real feeling that I will be talking about this much more once Mark Carney wins, that Alberta is going to be really talking about it. And I think I mentioned on the Patreon episode last week. No Patreon episode this week coming up. I will be on Tim Pool on Thursday night. Tim Cast. And I'm be traveling all day to get there. So I'm not going to see it. But the premier of Alberta, Danielle Smith, essentially said that once the election's over, she's going to go all around Alberta and ask people what questions they want for referendum questions. And you know that leaving Canada is going to be a part of it. And once that happens, bad news. Dylan Farnham says, my wife brought up a good point that you should ask Jew the lawyer, it's Joe the lawyer, the Jew, when they perform the sacred vivisection on an adult male, do they also perform CPR on the man's proboscis, or would that be weird? Good question. Well, Joe called in last week. We're going to do an Ask a Jew segment at some point. You can call in and ask him yourself. Anton says, to cut off China influence in the area, Vincent gifted 5 low-value mail memberships. Thank you, Vincent. You are the man. Sam Trendy J, which electorate is more annoying, Canada or America? Good question. Poison 1553, Europe and Asian markets have less space and physically need smaller cars. That's the number one reason American cars don't sell. That's a factor as well. Yeah, size-wise too. But even if America goes, yo, tariffs are gone, we're going to make a smaller car, they don't want it. They're shittier cars. Nameless Wallaby says, oh, Wallaby's back. What's up, Wallaby? JJ can do better than that through Amazon. Welcome back, Wallaby. It's been a minute. Hellspawn Inc. says, why haven't you had Corinne on Low Value Mail Bathhouse? Corinne's been on the Bathhouse many times, but she's currently running for mayor. And I fear that, and she probably knows that going on the Bathhouse would not be good for her chances. And Dylan Farnham says, sometimes I wonder if gold is like diamonds and they secretly have a bunch that could flood the market if we lose reserve currency. Dylan, who is they? No, diamonds are not rare. Gold is rare. And gold's very expensive. Diamonds are literally hoarded. They're a literal cartel. Diamonds are a complete scam. Gold is harder to get. All right, let's go to the phones. We got first caller up, Michael from Lethbridge, Alberta. We're going to Canada, baby. We're going to Canada. And we'll be joined by Matt Crumpton at the top of that. Oh, by the way, like and subscribe to the channel if you're an audio listener, and sign up for the Patreon, patreon.com/low value mail, MAIL. I'm going to give away some money once we hit 500 subscribers. If that ever happens, nobody wants to unmute themselves. Great, guys. Just great. New episode of The Bathhouse tomorrow night. And see me live. I'll be in Vancouver next weekend. Is it next weekend? No. Yes, next weekend. Not this coming weekend, the following. Vancouver House of Comedy. And then Edmonton after that. Get tickets at DannyComedy.com. Michael from Lethbridge doesn't know how to unmute himself, so we're going to go to Patrick from Kansas City and see if that works. Patrick from Kansas City, are you there?
Hello, sir.
What is happening?
How's it going?
Very good. How are you?
Pretty good. I had a interesting experience over the weekend.
Okay.
And my first thought after it happened was I'm looking forward to Monday to call in about this.
Love it. Love it. What happened?
I do Uber on the side, and I was working Saturday night, and I was out, I don't know, far from like the actual like Kansas City metro, and I see I had 2 passengers in the car, and we see these 2 aircrafts in the sky. And the first one we see was strange because we're driving and it doesn't look like it's moving, so we weren't sure if it was just moving really slowly.
Okay.
But I slowed down, and it's like basically just hovering in the sky.
What did it look like?
It was hard to tell how. Yeah, so it's hard to tell like how big it was because of like whether it was how close it was to us. But I mean, it didn't look really out of. I mean, it was kind of hard. I mean, it was nighttime, so it's kind of hard to tell. But it looked like an airplane-ish.
Could it have been one of those like drones that were all over New Jersey? Did it have like the?
That's what I'm thinking. I don't think it's like alien or anything like that. But it was hovering, and then it turns around, and like midair turns around, and it's not going super fast, but it turns around and goes the other way. And then the other one, unfortunately, that was the only one I got video of because I like stopped the car because we're all like,
yeah. But you got a video of it? Were the lights on them the same?
No. No.
Like, did they have the red and green lights?
The second one did, but I found out that was just a plane. But the weird thing about that one was, I mean, I hadn't seen this before, neither had the passengers in my car, that it had like headlights. So I'd never seen a plane with headlights on. So that
was it in a farming area? Did they do any farming?
I mean, it was like country. It was like a
country,
more rural, but I don't think,
because I remember we
like
talked about this in
farming.
Probably years ago, but we were talking about UFOs or something, and apparently some of these like I think they're like crop dusting planes or whatever. They have the giant light, like headlight on the front of them, and they get mistaken for UFOs all the time, and it's just for like crops.
Yeah, so that one, which I actually got video of it, I'm pretty sure that was just a normal passenger plane because the wing, like the back tail wing or whatever, was red and yellow, so it looked like a Southwest.
Okay. But this other one,
but yeah, that other one, I still don't know what that was.
Interesting.
That's interesting. Yeah.
I think it's probably one of those crop duster planes, especially if it was in a rural area.
Okay.
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, does your video? You
Yeah,
took a video of that plane?
No,
Oh, you
unfortunately, yeah. That one.
They never get a video.
By the time I stopped, that one had already like turned around and left. But,
did it turn around in like a suspicious manner? Like, did it stop on a dime and change directions?
Well, when we noticed it, we were like trying to figure out if it was moving or not. And I was slowing down and we realized, no, it's like hovering.
Oh, well then it's probably not a crop duster.
Yeah, it like slowly turned around, like in its place, like rotated and went the opposite direction that it looks like it was heading.
It's probably a drone then. It's probably similar to maybe it's those drones that they had over in New Jersey. I mean, we're going to need those when we go to war with China.
Yeah, because it was big. Like, I don't know how big, but it's, when I think of a drone, like, I mean, you know, just regular drones that everyday people have, like,
well, the ones,
much bigger than
the
that.
ones that were in New Jersey were like the size of minivans. They were big.
Yeah, like it would have had to at least be that big.
Yeah. Maybe isn't there high crime in Kansas City? Maybe it's like a surveillance drone.
I mean, there is high crime, but like I said, this is not, we were, I don't know.
You're
30 minutes outside of, we were far from actually the city.
And Interesting. All right. Well, I gotta let you go there, but thanks for calling in,
All right.
Patrick from
Yeah.
Kansas City. Everybody. All right. Let's see if we can go back to Michael in Lethbridge, Alberta. We have him on the line here. Can he unmute himself? Is the question. Michael, I know you can do it. You're making us Canadians look bad. I don't know if he can do it. I really. He's trying. He's trying his best. All right. Well, he's there, but he cannot figure out how to unmute himself. So let's go to Michael in Washington. Can he do it? Michael in Washington. Michael in Washington, are you there?
Hey, what's up? I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hey, what's up? How's it going?
Awesome. Wanted to ask, I really enjoyed the voice cast Friday. I'm glad you guys do that.
Thanks.
And you guys, and I watch, and you guys, aside from covering whatever format of topics you're going to cover, just throwing around, you guys throwing out zingers and blah blah blah. And I noticed a consistent dynamic where Ryan throws out sometimes zingers at your expense.
Sure.
But I never hear you throw out zingers at Ryan's expense.
I mean, I throw the odd one out.
I was wondering if that's a contractual thing or
no, it's not a contractual thing. No.
Wonderful.
No, I mean, I get about some stuff.
Okay, because I think, and I don't think you guys caught enough news for the egg debacle months ago. So.
That was years ago. The egg
was a year
debacle
ago.
where we didn't know where.
I know where. Yeah.
With the eggs.
Exactly. Yeah. And
I think Ryan didn't know that. I knew that.
It was a year ago.
Yeah, I knew that.
That's actually what I wanted to follow up on. I wanted to know if that was a mutual. You guys were both stumped on it, or if you were like, man, that's kind of weird that Ryan doesn't know that these eggs are unfertilized and that hens just lay eggs regularly. Like,
I believe I got killed on flushing condoms down the toilet. That's one that people really didn't like because I was very much a proponent of just flushing. I mean, I don't use condoms, but back in my day when I did use condoms, I would just flush them down the toilet. I mean, what else do you do with them? But then people were very upset about that. People were like, "That's crazy that you flush condoms down the toilet." But you'll never stop me from doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where a used condom goes. So, because otherwise, if you don't do that,
this is the only way.
If you throw them in the trash, then the ladies go Drake on you, and they empty them out in themselves, and then now you're on the hook for 18 years.
Exactly right.
Yeah. Anyways, Michael.
Time.
Yeah, happens all the time. I gotta let you go, but thank you for calling in, Michael. Michael from Washington, everybody. Okay, let's see if this Canadian can answer the fucking phone, and he has. Hello.
I'm on. Yeah, sorry, hitting the wrong button. Man, how's it going? First time
Good.
caller.
Yes, love it. Love to hear it.
Gotta say, I'm pretty indifferent to Jews.
Okay,
I know you get a lot.
That's something. It's not nothing. Indifference.
So, I guess I was calling.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was calling because I've been trying to get out there and make friends more, and it just seems so hard. I know everyone kind of calls in. It's like, how do I get laid? It's like, lose weight and get outside. It's like, how do I get laid without doing that?
How do you get laid without leaving the house?
Well, I mean, I'm just working on getting friends. I just want to make friends right now.
You just want to make friends? Friends are easier than getting laid, in my opinion. You just have to find any interest or hobby, and then just like run club. I don't know. Do you do any sort of exercise? You can
yoga Thursdays. I try to go rock climbing. I go to the gym a lot.
All these things, man. You can, dude. Just get someone at the gym to like. They're like, yo, can you spot me? And then, you'll see them at the gym all the time, assuming you guys work out at similar times. You make friends.
Yeah, so, I don't know. It's with these young, with guys like around, I'm only 25. And like every time, actually, no, I'm 26. But it just seems like every time I try and get people to go out, if I'm not around chicks, they're like not interested. And I'm like, dude, I'll do all these things with you. And it's like, oh, but want to go to a sorority party? It's like, I don't get invited to those. I'm not at the university.
They just want you for the chicks.
Yeah, like I was even talking to one of my friends who's working, and some girls were kind of eavesdropping on our conversation. And I was like, girls have to know about this red pill shit about how it's like, oh, tell girls are boring. And it's like, oh, we know all that stuff.
Yeah, that's nothing new
like,
though. Like negging women, that's old. That's been around for a
like
while. But I mean, if you're trying to make guy friends, like that seems. I know it's not.
Like all my friends are either like nerds, like hardcore anime nerds, or I work with roofers. So it's such.
I bet roofers have a good time. I mean, if you work,
we have a great time. Roofer once threatened to stab one of my coworkers with their heel.
Oh yeah. Roofers, I bet have a fucking great time. I would say probably trying to hang out with the roofers.
You know, because a lot of them are older, though. That's the problem.
I'm trying to find your age, 26. I'm trying to think about when I was 26. I mean, I kind of mostly had my friends that I had, but you make new friends. I mean, again, if you're actively trying to make new friends, guys, like, you know, go to like a pool night. I don't know, like anything, like any sort of activity, because you're probably not the only person in that boat. Like people just, you know, who have specific interests, they go do those things, and you'll meet people who have similar interests. I mean, I'm surprised rock climbing is a difficult one because there are probably tons of guys your age.
Yeah, it's a big thing. Is just people go with their friends and like I'll try and be like friendly and like talk to them, but it's like they'll talk to me for a bit and then go back to their friends.
Yeah.
Or like the big thing, girls are nice to me and they'll talk to me and have conversations, but guys, it's like I'm here with my friends.
That's weird, guys. I mean, again, maybe I don't know if you come off as a little too thirsty. Is that you think the problem? You're being a little thirsty?
I don't know. I mean, I'm willing to like, because I know I went out a bit ago with my roommate, and then there was a girl and a guy, and I tried talking to both of them. The guy had no interest in me, and I was talking to the chick.
Well, that's because he was trying to bang that girl.
Instagram. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I asked for her. No, she asked for my Instagram. They went outside, and I came outside, and I'm like, I'm going to run to the bathroom. They fucking ditched me. He's like, yeah, you made her feel uncomfortable. And it's like, she asked for my Instagram.
Yeah, she asked for yours.
Feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think that guy's just trying to be a little protective over.
Yeah, and he was kind of like, he was definitely like hanging off for the whole night because the bar was next to a strip club. I'm like, want to go to the strip club? At first, she's like, no. I'm like, okay, well then we're going. I said, if you're going, I'll go.
Sure.
I think the guy was getting.
I mean, it's tough being a solo guy because I mean, there is some element where if you're just out by yourself, people are like, wait, is this guy just like out by himself?
Oh, yeah. Even like on my dating profiles, like it's just pictures of me because I can't get people to go out. So
Jesus, like, well, where do you live?
Like, yeah, I know. I live in Lethbridge. It's a big college town, but.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've heard since COVID that everyone's just closed off. A big thing I've noticed here is like no one tries to make friends. Everyone will complain about not doing anything and then just like go back to their hometowns or Calgary or Edmonton.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
like, that's a big thing where people just kind of wait out.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I would just
originally.
Yeah, I would just say try and, you know, sign up for, you know, softball or like anything like that. Generally, it's like, especially something where you're like on a team. Any sort of team that you can sign up for, even if it's like a softball thing, like you're kind of forced to hang out with the person for an hour. So it's like nobody's gonna really like stonewall you.
You do
like
something
that.
bad, they're not gonna like kick you out.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I was living in New Jersey and like I'd walk by and there was like a kickball league, like a whatever. Like soccer, baseball.
I actually did sign up for like a Y League, and then like there was a group of guys and like their girlfriends. And the guys didn't want to hang out with me, so I hung out with their girlfriends, and they got jealous and like they're like, "Oh, like come hang out with us."
Don't do that.
I
mean, I would specifically, so definitely.
There was only a group of people, so I'm like, well,
yeah, but like if the guys aren't going to hang out with you, they are not going to like you for you being like, oh, well, then I'll just hang out with your girlfriends instead. They're definitely not going to like you then. I would just be maybe play a little bit of a long game here and just say like, hey, if they don't want to hang out with me after a week or something, just, you know, keep showing up. And then, you know, maybe you guys can go out and be like, yo, you guys want to go out for beers after a game, something like that. I don't know. I mean, I always had comedy, which made it kind of easy because you're just hanging out with a bunch of comedians all the time. So that kind of just becomes your new friends in that. But if you look at comedy as just like, you know, this activity thing you do, you just have to do some other kind of activity and see how it goes. Anyways, Michael, I gotta let you go, but thank you for calling in and all the best. If anything happens, call back. Let me know how it goes. Michael, everybody. All right. I think we have a girl. This is rare. This is rare for us. Hello, you're on Low Value Mail. Who am I speaking with?
Hello, I'm Rachel, and I identify as a low-value male, even though I'm female.
Okay, a low-value female. How's it going, Rachel?
Yeah, it's great, Danny. Thanks for letting me unmute myself. This is a great night for me.
I'm happy. This is a great night for everybody. So what do you want to talk about?
You know, I wanted to ask you, I mean, how would you feel if I actually got more females involved in low value mail?
I'd love it. I'd love it. This is not a male only space. I just think that talk radio format is definitely leans male historically. However, I mean, we do not discriminate. I mean, some of the callers do discriminate pretty actively, but I don't discriminate. So yeah,
not, Danny. Why would you?
I would never do such a thing. But yeah, I mean, if you want to, if you guys want to spread the word about low value mail, nobody's stopping you.
I do, and I still love the call-in format. I used to do this all the time with radio stations growing up. Now, obviously, they don't exist. Now we have to hunt you down on different podcasts and methods. So it's really great that you still do this. So I appreciate you a lot.
I'm the only psychotic person who's doing this. I really thought this would catch on. I know some more people are doing it now, but definitely when I started doing this, people are like, "Why are you doing an AM radio show on YouTube at night?" And I go, "I just like it."
It's perfect. You don't have anyone to answer to. You can say whatever you want. There's no script. I love
That's
it.
true. That's true.
Well, hopefully, look forward to some more female viewers here or listeners, watchers,
love it.
Stalkers. You know.
Yeah,
we love you guys. So it's great. So thanks so much, man.
Love it. Thanks, Rachel. Rachel, everybody, look at that. Well, would you look at that? All right, we have time for another call. Let's talk to the Goob. I haven't talked to the Goob in a minute. Let's chat with the Goob, and then we're going to go to the break, and we'll be back with Matt Crumpton. Hello, the Goob.
What's up, Danny? It's the Goob.
How's it going, buddy? How are things?
What a call to follow.
I know. A lady.
Trying to get more female. I don't know if you were watching the chat, but I've never seen the chat so united.
On having more females?
On not having any females.
Hey, guys. It's YouTube. It's open to everybody. Why? Are you guys going to have to start watching what you say all of a sudden?
But
you're going to be on your best behavior?
It's the low value male show. You know, we can't have women in here.
Well, I do have a Patreon tier of low value females. Yeah.
But I was calling because of the UFO call earlier.
Yeah.
Danny, I don't know if you remember, but I told you a UFO story like over a year ago. And the show went down when I told it. So
I do remember
you're still the only person to have ever heard it.
Yeah, I do remember the show went down. Yeah, go ahead. Let's see if we can make it happen again.
Yeah, I was going to offer to tell it again, so I'll go ahead. So Clayton, North Carolina. I'll go ahead and give the town. That's where I was at the time. Middle of nowhere. No military bases nearby. It's the middle of day. Sun is shining. You know, happy cloudy day. I'm driving home and I see this orb in the school. First, I see actually 3 black military helicopters. And like I said, I never see any military helicopters in the area. I've rarely ever seen any helicopter in the area. And then behind them, I see 2 more helicopters. All 5 helicopters are going in a straight line. They seem to be going full tilt, you know, as fast as they can. I look in the direction they're flying and I see a yellow orb that looks like the sun, except it's moving in a straight line and, you know, it's below the clouds. And the helicopters are chasing it. And so I go home, I talk to everyone I know. I go, did any of you guys see the UFO? No one saw the UFO. I eventually found one other person in the town who saw the UFO, but everyone saw the response to the UFO because a few hours later, the entire town was crawling in helicopters. And I mean, any and every helicopter from the entire local surrounding area. So there were like news helicopters, there were hospital helicopters. There was just literally every single helicopter from anywhere nearby was pulled to search over the town for the next 48 hours. Most of the town people, because they didn't see the UFO initially, it was in the middle of the day and it was moving quick enough. It would have only been visible for like 30 seconds or so by the time it went from, you know, horizon to horizon, maybe a full minute. So not many people saw it, but they all saw the helicopters and everyone thought it was like they were searching for an escaped convict, someone who escaped from a prison or something, but there was never a single news story. There was never anything reported on this from
there was no news stories
or from a UFO.
There was no news stories, even
not a single story. Nothing. I checked all of the local sources. There was nothing reported, not a single thing.
Everyone noticed the helicopters flying across the town for the next 2 days, but then everyone also pretty quickly forgot about it because no one was even aware of the UFO.
Crazy. There's so many stories like that all over the United States of just they did something and something crazy was happening and they, didn't want to make it public. I'm surprised that the local news didn't run a story over this because if it's a small town, you're like,
I contacted them.
What else could they have to talk about? Probably like a fucking water main burst.
I contacted the local news, and I mean, I didn't have much of a conversation with them. It really wasn't like I wish I could tell you I got some great insight, but I didn't. They were just like, yeah, nope, no one's, we don't have anything to report on that.
Interesting.
And that was it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, cool, Goob. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, man.
Good talking to you.
Later.
The Goob, everybody. All right, we're going to go to the break. I'm sorry if we weren't able to get to your call, but you can call it back during the show, or if should we do extra time, you can call back then, and we will get to you. I'll just read a few of the Super Chats. I don't know, what's going on with the Super Chats? What are you saying? I saw Vince. What is Vince? Well, we have... Reagan says, we just witnessed the beginning of the end of Low Value Mail. Dylan says, I have work in the morning, but I have swinger hot wife stories if you want to hear them. There's a cougar coming from Alabama to meet my wife and I. That's more of a bathhouse story. Dylan also says, sometimes I wonder if gold is like diamond. Oh, you already said that. Bobo Mikua says, no, Tower Gang Jose has a call-in show on Tuesdays. Oh, okay, there you go. Didn't know that. I'm bringing it back. It's the crest of the wave of call-in shows. Logan says $5 super chats. Please set chat filter to all messages. Join Patreon, patreon.com/lowvaluemail. And Anton says, what are ladies' thoughts on lobotomy? We are a lobotomy-friendly podcast. We are pro lobotomy. Vince said something. Where did I see? I saw Vince's chat. Something about, am I censor? Vince says, Danny, did you censor the super chats so we can't type hang up? I tried 3 times. No. I didn't. I don't censor anything. I have no censoring of anything whatsoever. I have no restrictions on words that can be said. I don't. So I have no idea. It must be maybe YouTube's glitching out during Goob's story time. I don't know. Anyways, we're going to be back with Matt Crumpton very shortly, everybody. In the meantime, please catch a little short clip from last week's episode of The Bathhouse. New episode tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Check it out. This one was an interesting story. This guy has a huge rod, and it's not all roses. Be right back, everybody. Don't go anywhere.
The thing is, I used to live in New York City, and I did stand up, but then my house blew up.
That happens. Where did you live in New York City?
Meth heads.
Meth heads.
Meth heads blew up where in New York City?
The Bronx? I mean,
Long Island?
I was living in Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. So you're living in Brooklyn, you were sharing a house and then with some meth heads and they blew it up?
No, so the building next to mine was condemned and meth heads were cooking drugs in it.
And that wasn't your rock
and
bottom?
And they blew up that house and it burned down my house.
And now you've fallen on hard times?
Yeah.
That's shocking.
So
I mean,
on top of the job loss,
where do you live
what's
now?
worse?
Do you live with your parents?
I live in Scranton, Pennsylvania now.
Yeah, that's hard.
With the folks?
Yeah.
Dude, just get a new sales job.
I think the bingo thing is your angle, bro.
The problem is
we don't know what else is going on.
We
led to him wanting to do stand-up.
But here's the thing: we need to get this guy some money. There's not going to be money in the bingo thing. That's
if you go to nursing homes, it's like, hey, why don't you give me I'll run it for $150. You do like 4 nursing homes a week.
Yeah.
You
could build a little business.
Maybe I could set up something like what's that channel that they sell fake jewelry to old people?
QVC.
You
want to? You're
dreaming
a little big here.
And just have old people call in.
No, because they don't know how to do anything. They're kind of useless.
You can do fake GoFundMe scams.
No, we want to keep it legal.
I've always thought about doing those.
There you go.
Are you also a meth head? Because nobody who lives with meth heads is not a
No,
meth head.
his neighbors were.
Oh,
meth
neighbors.
heads.
Sorry,
The building was
I missed
condemned.
that. Okay.
No,
Okay, I
yeah,
missed
they
that.
were neighbors of mine in a condemned building.
So you're 33.
My bad.
You're living at home. It's in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and you just lost your job selling flowers. Is there any other parts of this tragedy that we should be aware of?
Yeah, what else?
Did
What
a
else we got?
girlfriend dump you? Did somebody die?
You had to supply the flowers?
I mean, when the house exploded, I was living with my girlfriend, ex-girlfriend.
Okay.
And
She okay?
She became ugly in the fire, so you left her?
I wish that were the case.
So basically,
I did the exact opposite of that.
the house.
You married her.
No, what happened?
No, I got her out of the burning building like a stupid idiot.
You saved her life, and then she repaid you by leaving you.
Bingo.
Damn.
See, this has nursing home bingo written all over it, dude.
Who'd she leave you for? Tell me not someone in the flower business.
No, a hot Russian redhead chick.
Oh, she's a lesbian now.
Oh, Brooklyn.
Oh,
Yeah.
you are at
Yeah,
rock
they all
bottom,
go
bro.
gay. They all go gay in
Yeah.
Brooklyn,
Yeah.
man. You're only a moment away from your girlfriend
I don't
going
know.
gay.
Can you fault this lady for liking pussy? You know?
I mean, hot Russian
No,
redheads.
she was hot. I don't blame her.
Hot Russian redheads.
Did you try to get in on that, though? When she fucking... tried to
I did.
Yeah.
You did, yeah.
Yeah, that's some
And,
champ shit.
and
It
he's
didn't
smart.
work out
Didn't
well.
work out.
Yeah, I
No,
didn't
we
think it would.
we knew the answer to that though.
If they wanted it, they would have
You always
invited
gotta
you.
weasel. You gotta try and weasel in if you
Yeah.
can.
But if you're
Yeah.
not invited to the party, dude, you're not. You're
yeah.
not. You know.
So,
I know.
when did you
I know
live
you
in?
fell out of
Martin
love with
Luther
me,
King,
and you're
man.
leaving me for something way different. But can I just like tag along?
when
Well,
did
you know, when
when
I
was
didn't
this
have a
explosion?
house, it was either move back here or try and tag along. You know.
When was this explosion? What year was this?
Do you know that it wasn't your lesbian trying to get out of the relationship?
And she set the house on fire.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that she could have an excuse to be like, you know what? I actually have a girlfriend. I'm just going to go live with her.
So hold on. So when was this explosion?
It was right before COVID.
Right before. So 2019.
Oh, it's like
House
5 years.
explodes. 5-6 years now. And then basically she was like, I'm staying in Brooklyn. We're broken up. Immediately after this explosion, and you saved her life. Like this was right afterwards?
It was. I mean, not while the house was.
And we're back, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the break. Joining me now, Matt Crumpton from the Solving JFK podcast, second appearance, the Two-Timer Club.
What's
How's it
up,
going,
man?
man?
Good,
Oh,
good.
thanks.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me back, man.
I mean, I'm happy to have you back because obviously we got these JFK files. We were talking about it off air. It was 80,000. Was it 80,000 documents or files or whatever? Tons of stuff.
80,000 pages, 3,886 documents. And so far, we have about 2,500. There's about 1,500 they have not yet scanned or made available at the archives.
Gotcha. Actually, sorry. Let me make my video available to you because it's not for some reason. It actually is not giving me the option to make my video available to you.
Dude, I can imagine how good you look. It's all good, man.
Oh, I look amazing, but
Right
for
on.
some reason, hold on. Let's see if I can. It literally is not making it an option for me. So I don't know about that. Oh, hold on. This is the beauties.
There he is.
There he is. But now we lost you.
Oh.
Hold on. We'll get you back. We'll get you back. This is the joys of doing it live, right? That's what we're doing. And
Just like Bill O'Reilly, baby. We'll do it
just
live.
like Bill. Yeah, I don't have too much in common with him, but hold on.
I started a Twitter fight with him the other day, but I don't think he runs his own Twitter account, so I didn't. Really...
I doubt he has tens of millions of dollars and much better things to do than run his own Twitter account. Okay, we almost got this sized up properly. Oh God, this is hell. This is hell. Oh, there we go. All right, look at that. All right, so where were we? So the files. So how many of you? Because obviously everybody wants to know. A lot of people have a lot of thoughts about this. Like, is this some kind of, sending people off on a tangent because there's no Epstein files. Was there anything of substance in there? There must have been. So I'd like to hear from you. Kind of what were the most interesting things that you've come across so far?
Yeah, well, just so you know, just out of the gate. Again, like there's another 1,500 documents that they still haven't given us yet, so we don't quite have everything, and it's kind of unclear. Like, is it not available, or have they just not scanned it in yet? But supposedly they're still doing it, and whatever. Well, you know, so far they've given up a lot of stuff. This is actual legit disclosure so far. In terms of you know, the document. About it is a lot of these it was just maybe one section was redacted before, so we got to go figure out what is the one paragraph they've been hiding from us all these years, because when they declassify, let's say it's a 170-page document, and on page 142 they've unredacted two lines.
Right.
The only way you know that is if you had all the other so it's really painstaking and difficult. And to be honest with you, I'm not in the weeds at that level at this moment, but what I do is I follow the people who are in the weeds, and I can kind of tell you what some of the top documents are that have come out so far. And here's the thing too, there's not a single smoking gun, but what there is a confirmation of you know, the existing fact pattern that we were already aware of, right? So a lot of things that we already thought, there's more information to kind of tie it together and put an exclamation point on it. And that's
And so what are some of those things?
It'll still be disputed, by the way. So I'll hit you with a few of them. So, all right, there are two CIA documents that talk about what Cubans thought happened to JFK, right? So, okay, so what are they? One of them is a document written on the day of the assassination, and it's they had basically the Cuban embassy tapped in Chile. And the ambassador there basically says, he says the CIA assassinated Kennedy, and they did it to resume their assault on Cuba and then start a third world war just like that of the Maine. So so okay, who cares what Cuba thinks? They weren't there. How are they going to know the day of the assassination? But why does the CIA redact that little section all these years? That's very telling to me. I mean, it's like the whole, like, you know, you protest too much thing. Then there's another one where they redacted Fidel Castro being overheard telling some U.S. radicals that they tried to, you know, Cuba tried to reenact the you know, what Oswald's accused of doing, and they couldn't do it with their best marksman, and he was certain that it was, you know, a conspiracy, and it wasn't Oswald alone.
They couldn't their best marksman. I mean, I've been to Dealey Plaza. It's not that far of a shot.
Cuba. Yeah, well, here's the thing. I mean, so on that topic, it's super easy to hit one shot. Super easy to hit. I don't know about easy, but it's doable, I think, to hit two shots. But you got to do it with a bolt action rifle, okay?
Yeah.
And you've got to do it in the time frame that you know, the vehicle was there, right, on a moving target. So they actually tried to recreate it, and they weren't able to. They were able to recreate it 11% of the time, I believe. It might have been like, it was a very small amount. So, and the headline too is like, Oswald didn't have any shooting. He's not even the people who think that he did it alone say that the last time he had shooting practice was in April, right? So okay, I mean, that's not realistic.
So this is a multiple shooters. Do you buy in? Do you buy into that? I believe the woman who ran the congressional hearing, was her Luna?
Yeah, Congresswoman Luna, yeah.
Wasn't she saying that NBC had a video that they've just had forever of, like, that shows Lee Harvey Oswald just kind of watching the procession and therefore not being able to be the shooter?
All right, man. So good. I'm glad you asked that question. Here's the definitive answer on that. That is an existing film that they already have at the Texas School Book Depository Museum. Okay. And what they're talking about, you know, seeing Oswald on the first floor, is this image of this person they call Prayer Man, because he's standing there like this with his hands on his head, and they say that he's praying. It doesn't look like he's praying to me. It's like a hands on his head man to me. But anyway, and so long story short, there's this guy named Bart Camp, this author researcher, who got statements from every single person in the school book depository to figure out where they were at the time of the shooting, and the only person unaccounted for is Oswald, and this person looks like Oswald. Separately, there's another guy named Billy Lovelady who's standing there. That's not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about Prayer Man. Okay, so what's the whole NBC thing? Supposedly NBC has the original footage, and they think that version is going to be, higher res, and they're going to be able to tell something now that because the version that exists is not as good of a version. But we're talking about the quality of the film. We're not talking about a different, new information. So
Gotcha. So it's just a higher, because I saw that photo. I saw like the still of the photo of the man who's purported to be Lee Harvey Oswald, and I'm like, I just feel like back then a lot of people looked like that. I don't know if that makes sense, but I just feel like he just looked like a generic kind of skinny Texan man.
Yeah. A 25-year-old, 5'8", skinny white guy.
Yeah. So okay. So back to multiple shooters is what is your best current theory of what happened? If I was gonna say gun to your head, but
please don't. Knock on the wood that it's available. All right. So what I can do for sure is speak to. So I started this as like an objective project. Okay.
And it's a great podcast. If anybody hasn't checked it out, if you're into JFK, it is probably the best one. So
it's in the weeds, man. But so my whole thing is I go issue by issue and I compare what arguments each side says and what are the counterpoints to everything. And I do pick sides because that determines kind of which way I end up going with things, right? But anyway, so in season 1, what we found is that the big findings were there had to be someone shooting from the front based on the medical evidence, witness statements, somewhat confirm it, although it's a little cloudy for sure. The Tippit shooting is cloudier than people say. I mean, that one makes Oswald look bad per the official story, but there's a lot of problems with it. The timeline is basically impossible that he possibly could have been there. Right.
Yeah.
But that
was to fill people in. That was a different shooting, like a different part of town?
that's the police officer that Oswald supposedly shot and then fled to the Texas theater. And there's everything in this case is like, it's such a rich tapestry. But so anyway, so big picture findings. Ruby definitely didn't just randomly kill Oswald. It was premeditated. He set up a whole thing with his one of his dancers about how he was going to send her a Western Union wire for money that she didn't need, and he asked her to basically say that she needed it or whatever. It was this whole weird song and dance. So definitely that. I haven't gotten to Jack Ruby and the Mafia yet. I'm going to do that in this upcoming season. All right, so we know for sure. And also the single bullet theory is not possible because of the trajectory, because of the CE-399, the magic bullet, all these things.
The bullet that they have the photo of, I had a guest on last week. He was saying but essentially like the photo of the bullet that's not a bullet it's like in pristine condition that they purportedly pulled out of him, right?
So it's not. I mean, it's in really good condition. Really good condition. The bottom of it's a little bit banged up. Okay. And they want you to believe that it went through, the top of Kennedy's back, but the bottom of his neck, out his throat, into Connolly's back, breaks Connolly's ribs, goes into Connolly's wrist, breaks his wrist, comes out of his wrist, and goes into his left leg and is implanted in his femur. That's
how did people buy that shit in the 60s?
People still buy it today. There are people who, I mean, look, there's a lot of people who, especially people that are tied to academia, people who are tied to, candidly, the military-industrial complex, whether that's, I'm not making claims against people. I'm not saying people are like feds working for the CIA necessarily. What I'm saying is, people at think tanks that like war love to push the Oswald did alone theory because if you follow, where we're going this season, one of the groups we're going to look at is the generals. I mean, look, there's the Mafia did it. There's, people talk about Israel. Mm-hmm. There's a recent document that came out in Israel we could talk about here in just a second.
Yes.
But so at any rate, we're going to look at the generals, and my working theory of where we are is it's quite likely the CIA and the generals have to be in the stew, because the only possible way that there's a conspiracy is that the autopsy had to be fraudulent. It's the only way. The autopsy is not fraudulent, then then forget it. Oswald did it then. Okay. So that's, I mean, and there's a zillion facts that make that impossible other than the autopsy, but the autopsy is one of the main ones. So the military's got to be involved in some way, right? But anyway, so season 2, we looked at Oswald's life, right? And what we found from that is that Oswald was impersonated numerous times. I think we counted 27 times he's impersonated, documented times.
He's impersonated by somebody else.
By somebody else. And when I say impersonated, what I mean is, I don't mean somebody saw a guy who looked like Lee Harvey Oswald. What I mean is, somebody saw a guy when we know Oswald's like at work, or he's with his wife somewhere, or he's already accounted for. According to the official story, he's already accounted for. Okay. So we know he's already accounted for. He's popping up all over the place. And the people that pop up, so the people are like, oh, he looked like Oswald after I saw Oswald on TV, when supposedly he killed the president. And then he said his name is Lee Oswald, and he said he had been in the Soviet Union, and he just got back from Mexico. And he
had a whole story, like a lot of details to be like, oh, I remember him.
Yeah, and it's popped up numerous. I mean, that is absolutely, look, I co-wrote a book called The JFK Assassination Chokeholds. I wrote the chapter on that, Oswald being impersonated. In my book, there's 18 instances. Now in the podcast, there's 27, so we have to do a second edition. And there's probably even more. I mean, so 1,000%, Oswald, if he's a random person, why would he be impersonated? If he's a lone nut, who's going to impersonate him? And then likely he went to the Soviet Union on behalf of the CIA. And I say that because the top counterintelligence expert from the Cold War, from the CIA, a guy named Pete Bagley, that's what he thinks. He thinks Oswald was used as bait to smoke out a Soviet mole that was a KGB mole that was at the top of the CIA. Wow. It's called Popov's mole. It's this whole crazy thing, but that's kind of what explains what Oswald's doing in the Soviet Union. There's a lot of anomalies otherwise, but I mean, what do you want? The main guy at the CIA that knows everything about the KGB and the CIA, that's what he thinks. So, I mean, the New York Times did a full page of this long obituary when he died. Like, he's a celebrated figure. Anyway.
So this is a massive conspiracy then. If you have 27 different people. Now, do we know, were they the same person?
A massive conspiracy. Well, here's the thing.
Like, if you have 27 different people and they're all like being sent off to pretend they're Lee Harvey Oswald prior to the assassination, You're like, there's a lot of people involved in this thing. This is not
So the question is, so of those, let's say some of those are just legitimately somehow it's confused, and they said something that was a coincidence. You can have a coincidence or two. I don't think you can have 27, but you can have a couple. All right, and then some of them were the same guy, I think, for sure. And I mean, there's a picture of this other person that doesn't look like Lee Harvey Oswald to me in the Warren Report volumes. And
his name is Lee Oswald.
Well, no, so. That's the Harvey and Lee theory. That's this guy named John Armstrong. He's one of the top 5 living researchers on the case, like down in the weeds. This guy's the man. But he's kind of out on a limb with 2 Oswalds since they were 7 years old theory. And dude, it's not totally crazy is the thing. Like, you follow it back, there's all these anomalies in his elementary records. Like, nothing makes sense. His mom looks nothing like she did. 10 years before 63, where all of a sudden his mom starts looking radically different. Like, I don't know, man. It's like, I don't really go deep on that.
And so what's the 2 Oswald thing, that there were 2 different?
Okay, here's the 2. So yeah, the theory is that basically I look at this guy's research and the stuff that I find credible, I go with. The 2 Oswald stuff I don't really push, because I think a conspiracy is established without it, and I just don't. But it's not nothing. The theory is basically that there was they wanted to have a Russian-speaking person that they could use as to say that the same person can't be in 2 places at one time, right? Mm-hmm. So they could have him, basically doing hood rat things with his friends in the Soviet Union, and then have the other guy going to do something in Mexico City and or in wherever, Boise, doesn't matter. He can go, well, I don't know, my guy couldn't have done it. Look, he was here. We have proof. Here's a picture of him doing this, and this. So, and I guess, there's one document that kind of you could kind of make the argument from, but it by no means establishes it. And his theory is that it started when he was 8 years old. So
they were, and what, they were going to plan to use him just for something? Like, he was just an asset?
Exactly. nothing to do with the Kennedy assassination. Yeah, the plan was just to use him. This is the theory. I'm not saying that I
sure. Yeah.
support this fully. I do support it pretty much once it gets into like him being a teenager. I pretty much support the John Armstrong theory once he's a teenager. I just don't follow when he's. I mean, when I say the theory, I'm not saying Armstrong's theory is there's a Harvey and there's a Lee, and they're two specific guys, and there's only one person who's going around everywhere impersonating Oswald.
Right.
And that may be true, but I don't want to go out on that limb because I don't think it's necessary to prove the case, and I want to prove the conspiracy. That's what my focus is. I try to say the smallest thing I can say to make my point, and I footnote every single proposition of fact. I know I sound like a douche, by the way, but I'm serious about this shit.
No. I mean, you're definitely the most knowledgeable about this whole stuff. So you were at the congressional hearing.
Yeah.
That was what, like a week ago?
Yeah, last Tuesday, and
so what is that like? Like how long is it?
So the panel, the committee hit me up about like being an informal consultant, basically, which was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And they were talking to me about speaking, which was hilarious. I'm like, do you know I have had a podcast for 3 years. Maybe you should talk to some of these guys who've been doing it for 30 years.
Sure.
I was like, having said that, pick me,
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, they hooked me up with a hilariously good seat, like right behind James DiEugenio's shoulder. I'm just sitting there the whole time like this, like just making faces for my mom, who I knew was watching at home. But dude, I mean, to answer your question, it got politicized. And I would say on the Republican side of things, they were there to talk about the JFK assassination. So props to them for like participating.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so complicated that it's really hard to ask good questions. There were some good. I mean, Nancy Mace got him on the record. Got some folks on the record talking about, did Oswald fire shots or not, whatever. It's not a great forum for doing this. But on the Democratic side of things, they just ignored it. They were like, we don't want to talk about. We're not here to talk about conspiracy theories. It was bonkers. I'm like, dude, the 3 people on the panel that were talking about it were all like liberal Democrats.
Yeah.
So
but why were they there then? Are they forced to be there?
Because they're on the House Oversight Committee.
Okay.
And it's a bipartisan committee.
So this is just one of the things they have to do.
Yeah, I mean, dude, here's the core issue with the hearings. They had 3 experts, and they had 1 privacy expert who was there to be like, look what you did. You released these records, and there are 12 people whose social security numbers are going to be out. I hope you're happy.
Alive?
I hope you're happy. Yeah, it's bad. It's not good. It was reckless and sloppy. It was bad.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was bad enough to hijack the hearing and be the only thing that you talk about. Everyone agrees that it's bad. Everyone agrees they should be compensated. Everyone agrees, like, yes, that sucks. I mean
that's awesome for them if they're going to get a fat check from the federal government.
They get a new social security number, and they're going to get like
they'll get a new social security number. They'll be inconvenienced, and they'll get some money.
But anyway, the problem with the format is each speaker got 5 minutes or 6 minutes, and then each congressperson who truly, like, it's all over the place, right? Maybe it's good 5, maybe it's a bad 5, but they get 5 minutes. And it's just, what are we doing? It's just a bunch of people going around talking for 5 minutes. So I think you got to have a longer form thing on the record for this to work. And that's what I'll be pushing for, is like, for I would love to have like a whole week of debates and a week of hearings. That's what I think we should.
And what's the desired outcome here when you're going to Congress? Like, what is the kind of point of this?
I would say the point would be
to open an investigation, because I saw Oliver Stone was saying to Congress they need to.
Yeah. So, and I agree with Oliver Stone about that. Here's why. We've had 2 government investigations so far. The Warren Commission, which found Oswald did it alone. That's the official one that the academic historians.
That literally almost no person believes.
Academic historians and newscasters.
But like your average person. Like, I was saying, maybe I said this to you last time. I don't know if I had been to Dealey Plaza the last time you were on, or I went there afterwards. But like, when you go there, nobody believes that Lee Harvey Oswald just did it by himself.
Right.
Like, nobody walking around Dealey Plaza thinks that.
That's true. What were we talking about? Where were we going? The hearing. What we should do.
Yeah.
We need to have something longer form on the record, and we'll see if there's a chance to do that.
And now, do you think that the Congress is essentially, they wouldn't be open to this because essentially they're investigating themselves at this point?
I know what you were asking me. Let me go back to your question.
Yeah.
The Warren Report. So that's the
Yeah.
one that found that Oswald acted alone. Okay. Then then we have some investigations in the 70s into intelligence agencies. We find out some things. We find out about the heart attack gun. We find out about a lot of stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Then in 78, we have the HSCA, and their official finding is, hey, the Warren Report mostly got it right. Oswald did act alone in terms of the 3 shots. But there was also a 4th shot fired by a random person from the front, and we don't know who it was. Have a good day, America. That's the official finding. The last one that's on the record.
Yeah.
So the ARB that released all these documents, they did a report, but they didn't do a substantive finding of, hey, here's what we think happened. So we live in a world right now where all of the mainstream corporate press, all of the careerist academic historians believe one thing, which is the Warren Report, and then the most recent document is the HSCA in 1978. So what I'd like to see happen is, let's digest all of these documents that have been released since 1994. There's been, 300,000 pages or something like that of documents released. Let's synthesize all that and say, look, here's my citation. Boom, 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 boom. Look at all these documents. Here's what this proves. Here's what this proves. And just have a chance to lay it out. And the other side can knock on it, and we can debate and go back and forth, whatever. But we need to have something other than, it can't just be, hey, all the grown-ups and people who are supposedly in charge believe the old thing.
Yeah.
And then here's the new thing that nobody actually believes the new thing, but the new thing says that there's a conspiracy. Like, nobody believes that Oswald did it alone and the Warren Report's otherwise correct, but there's just a random person laid over top of that. There's way more to that.
Yeah.
So,
and so then what? Like, is the goal would be after that for them to just like
my goal
police start investigating?
I mean, I think the ultimate,
try and find this guy.
The guy, no, I don't think we're going to know who. Look, I don't know what the findings are going to be. So I don't know, for example, what LBJ's involvement is going to be. I don't know how. I go back and forth on the extent of LBJ's involvement. But how, ultimately people just need to know what happened so they can vote accordingly. And if it was the CIA and the generals, that means there was a coup and we lost control of the country and never got it back.
Sure.
So that's something, and probably the best case scenario would happen. Let's say it is CIA. I'm not sure it is CIA alone, or CIA. I'm not sure how big CIA's role is. Okay, but certainly put them in the mix.
Yeah,
they're in the. I think probably what would happen in real life. I thought through this. Let's say we have a huge win, and they go, "Oh, you know what? CIA is absolutely complicit. It's proven. It's established." What would they do? They would break up the CIA. They would put the intelligence missions of the CIA under the State Department, and they would put the black ops under the Department of Defense, and nothing would change. Probably.
Right. Well, and also, if they did,
people would know what happened.
Yeah,
people would know what happened. We would walk around in a world where all the people who are trying to be smart would be on the same page.
Sure.
And then there would be a few people clinging to desperate arguments. But look, like when I talk to these super believers, I'm not even addressing them. I'm just trying to understand why they think what they think. And, I'm trying to, I think it's up to objective observers to decide, what's reasonable and what's not reasonable.
Yeah. But I feel like if you're a congressperson and you think there's an inkling that the CIA is involved, they're probably like, I don't want to touch this. Like, what, I'm going to do this, and then we're going to have to break up the CIA?
Dude,
like,
and
look, what a shitstorm that would be.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to happen, but I think if we can get more sunlight on this and people can, people want to know, what does this have to do with today? Possibly literally everything. I mean,
yeah.
What if you could draw, what if I were to tell you that there's a pretty good chance that Watergate is extremely related to the JFK assassination?
In what capacity?
Well, the burglars for Watergate were CIA officers, many of whom were involved in the Bay of Pigs.
Mm-hmm. Well, I saw I can't remember who was on Tucker Carlson's show, basically saying Watergate was an entire setup. And then I saw the Bill Murray clip. I don't know if you saw Bill Murray on Rogan, essentially saying, like, I read Belushi's biography and it was so full of shit that the first 10 pages were so full of shit that I second guess the entire Watergate story because it was written by Bernstein, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Gordon Bernstein.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's because I only heard about even, you hear about the JFK thing, like that it's this giant conspiracy forever. I only heard about that there might be some shit happening with the Watergate thing recently. Like I thought that was settled.
Well, then you should. I mean, there's the whole thing of E. Howard Hunt's wife's airplane blew up when she was carrying all this money, and she was like, she knew some stuff. I don't know. I have not. This stuff, I'm still kind of like. I probably shouldn't go deep on it yet because I can't.
Yeah,
I haven't.
You can't substantiate it anyway, but
it
makes you think.
There's the threads of history go way back. I mean, George H.W. Bush is the heir to Allen Dulles when it comes to policy. I mean, here's a fun question to ponder about George H.W. Bush. If he only was the director of the CIA for less than a year, I wonder why it is that the building is named after him.
That's a good question. Well, when did the building get named after him?
I don't know exactly
but probably after he was president. But still, yeah, good point. Like, but normally you just get a library.
That doesn't prove anything. I mean, what proves something is the document that says George Bush of the CIA. That's what proves something.
Right.
But he was banging around back there in the 60s, it appears, for the CIA, which he denied. And the smoking gun on that is when he testified for his confirmation hearing as director of the CIA. They asked him where he was on the day of the Kennedy assassination, and he said he didn't remember.
Didn't remember, which is literally, for an American of that age, they essentially say, I remember exactly where I was for the moon landing and for the JFK.
Dude, yeah. I mean,
every American.
Yeah, I remember 9/11. I was going through
9/11 also.
My fraternity, and I had to, as a pledge going through Hell Week, I had to guard the house to make sure no one flew into it. So it was serious stuff, and I'll never forget.
Sure. Yeah, you'll never forget. But yeah, so those three things everyone remembers. George H.W. Bush, for whatever reason, no clue what he was doing the day JFK got assassinated.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I'm not saying. I just think he probably had. And he had a boat called like Barbara and Zapata, and he leased this island called Cay Sol from the Bahamas, and it was the closest island to Cuba, and it's basically like where the refuels took. Like he was deep in bed with the CIA and doing his Zapata oil stuff. But there's the best author on that is a guy named Russ. What's his name? Russ something. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. But anyway.
Okay. Phone lines are open. Phone lines are open. 1-888-949-2969. If you have any questions for Matt. So you touched on Israel for a second. I know a lot of people who watch this show probably want me to follow up. I want to follow up on that. So from what I understand, Israel was mentioned 4 times in those newly released documents. So anything to kind of illuminate here?
Yeah. So in terms of, there are a few documents that talk about, Israel had previously been redacted. Okay. Mm-hmm. And there are
were other countries redacted or just Israel?
Yes, there are other countries that were redacted too. It was not just
suspicious.
Israel.
The Israelis would do that. They would go redact everybody else.
But yeah, so
plausible
I do
deniability.
want to point that out. There are a lot of documents on Israel. And there's maybe some other important ones that I haven't seen yet. Certainly wouldn't rule that out given how many there are. But here's the one that caught my eye that I thought was worth mentioning. Okay. And this is I'm doing an episode that comes out next week, basically breaking down my experience. I got an interview with Oliver Stone, who while I was riding in an Uber with them.
That's awesome.
Dude, I got to have dinner with him. He's the man. Anyway. But anyway, here's a document. It is James Angleton, who's the chief of counterintelligence for the CIA, and he's also the Israeli contact. He's basically like the liaison to Israel.
Yeah, we had a guest, or not a guest, a caller who was probably going to call in, but he was talking about that last week, that James Angleton basically helped start the Mossad or something.
I'm not able to go that far. I haven't studied Israel yet. I'm going to go deep.
He has like a park called like in Tel Aviv or something called or Jerusalem called like James Angleton Park or something.
I think I have heard that. Yeah. But so anyway, Angleton, he testified before the Church Committee in June of 1975, and we now know from one line that has been unredacted that he introduced Bill Harvey to the Israelis. Okay, so here's what's interesting about that.
Who's Bill Harvey?
Bill Harvey was the head of Operation Mongoose,
okay.
which was basically like Cuban sabotage, and he
Yeah.
also dealt with assassinations and executive action. Okay, so he's a prime. If you're looking at the CIA, he's a prime suspect. He also like got into a fight with the Kennedys and like cussed him out in the Oval Office, and then they had him transferred to the Rome division of CIA.
Wow. So he had a
also,
beef.
dude. Well, and he also told somebody he worked with in CIA in Rome that he was going to Dallas on the day before the assassination because he had some business to take care of.
Whoa.
And his travel records are still classified, and they have not been disclosed.
Is he dead?
He's dead. Yeah.
Okay.
He's a bad guy, even if he didn't kill JFK. Just to say. But anyway, so here's the information. Let's get to the substantive evidence. All right. So this is what was unredacted on the page. This is after, since 1975, this has been sitting there, and this has been a major important thing that they thought they needed to keep redacted. Here's what it is. Quote, I had introduced Harvey as the only officer to the Israeli operational people, here's the key phrase, on the Cuban business. So he says he introduced Bill Harvey, the main guy who's in charge of Operation Mongoose, Cuban exiles messing stuff up in Cuba, and also works with assassinations, introduced him to the Israeli operations as it relates to Cuba. So what does that mean? So that's my question.
What business did Israel have with Cuba?
Exactly. So it was on the Cuban business. So I mean, does that mean that they helped with some very discrete part of it? They provided a weapon, or they did something like, what did they do? We don't know. How did they help? It doesn't, I couldn't find that in the rest of the document. So
sure, but that stood out to you.
That stood out to me because if it was just he introduced them to Israeli operational people, I know there's a lot of people that think Israel did it, and I'm going to air all the arguments on my show, but I haven't been extremely persuaded by it. But when I saw this document, I said, well, there's literally a connection between, who is it? Listen, I want to say the exact words: Israeli operational people and Bill Harvey as it relates to the Cuban business. And they thought this was important enough to keep redacted for all these years. So
yeah,
I'm not saying it's something for sure, but it's definitely not nothing. How about that?
Yeah. And again, and was just the country Israeli, was that what was redacted, or was that whole thing redacted previously?
Next, let's see. I might be able to tell you quickly here. Hang on.
Yeah. Hold on. I just got a text, actually. Oh, my bank account got shut down.
Oh, neat.
That's weird.
It's
just been debanked.
Next Wednesday, I'm gonna have an episode where I have all the footnotes out. But I don't have it in front of me to tell you right away. But I mean, it's that phrase that
yeah.
I can read. I'll read you the quotation. It's sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
The quote is quote, I had introduced Harvey as the only officer to the Israeli operational people on the Cuban business, end quote. That's the part that was redacted.
Yeah, and the Cuban thing, because I briefly went through some of the files. I started at the end, and like, if for whatever reason they were getting released, and I was like, I'm just going to start on the last page, like 80,000. And like instantly I saw something about them talking about wiping out the crops in Cuba, like wiping out all the crops.
Yeah, they tried to destroy the Cuban agriculture. Look, man, believing in the domino theory was a hell of a drug back then. I mean, these people, they thought communism was like the Black Plague or something, and they thought ideas could spread, even if they were bad, they would just keep going. And it was really, really quite a dumb. Like, if you think that America is based on like free speech and free thought, then you should let people determine their own shit.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
That's why, and that's probably part of why. I mean, a big argument of, a question I asked on Twitter the other day, why is it that all the people, not all the people, most people in my personal life experience who say Oswald acted alone are in favor of most wars that we have?
Interesting.
In my personal experience.
And what is your theory there? Are they just is it that they're very just kind of not particular, like they're kind of malleable and they just kind of go along?
I think a lot of people who have come to the conclusion that there was a conspiracy, a part of that conclusion is looking at the foreign policy direction that Kennedy was going to take us, basically Kennedy wanted to let all the African countries do their thing and be independent, and basically us not colonize and take all their stuff.
Sure, and run their countries.
But, all the whatever they called it, the third world at the time. He truly like he was, I don't know if you call it altruistic to just be a reasonable person, but he didn't want to steal from everybody, right?
Fair enough.
And he just had beef with the CIA because they heard like the Schlesinger memo, which that was another big one that just got declassified. They let me just read you this big declassified quote from the Schlesinger memo. This is on this point.
This is post assassination or pre?
So the famous quote about how this is the famous quote about how JFK says, "I'm going to tear the CIA in 1,000 pieces and scatter it to the wind." So this is the practical where the rubber meets the road. A document that was drafted by his aide Arthur Schlesinger, telling him like, look, here's why we need to break the CIA up. Here's how you do it. Okay, it's like this 7-page document, and 2 pages or so have been redacted all these years. So it turns out what the redactions were, and this is one of like the biggest documents that the experts were all fired up about. So, and it's not a smoking gun, but it's really interesting. So here's what it is. As of 1961, 47% of the political officers in United States embassies across the world were CIA working under cover of the State Department. 47%.
That's a
okay.
lot.
And so what was happening is, in some countries, the CIA chief of station for the CIA had more power than the ambassador did, who reported to the State Department, who reported to the president. So in other words, the CIA was making its own foreign policy.
Yeah.
In some places. For example, the CIA controlled the United States government's relationship with the French Assembly president, and he wouldn't even talk to the ambassador. He only talked to CIA.
He knew the guy to talk to.
Yeah.
And it wasn't.
There's a lot of rich stuff there, but okay. Here's the big part. Here's the big quote. This is what Schlesinger's telling Kennedy, and this has been redacted for all these years. Though CIA's autonomy developed for historical reasons, it has been able to endure because there is no doctrine governing our conduct of clandestine operations. The problem of doctrine for CIA is the extent to which its various clandestine missions are compatible with a free and open society. In other words, they're saying CIA is fucking everything up, and they're tyrants, and they're just going around killing people. And they can't
have rules. Yeah, they can't have any rules essentially because the only way they can operate.
So you can argue, well, why did they keep this classified all these years? Well, it was embarrassing. Okay, but it's also that kind of shows like a motive of like, look, they were worried. I mean, Kennedy was you can say a lot of bad things about Kennedy, but I think he was really trying to do the right thing, and either he was naive about how dangerous the people were that he was messing with, or he just didn't care because he was based, kids say. But they used to like years ago. I don't know what they say now.
Yeah, they're still saying based. And is there any chance that does the CIA currently have some sort of doctrine?
Some sort of what?
Like some sort of rules essentially? Like, is the CIA still doing this?
No, nobody knows. I mean, no one knows. But given that they've never really been held accountable in any way, I mean, first of all, I have not gotten to the end of the rainbow where I'm ready to go, the CIA did this, and here's blah, blah, blah. And here's the other thing, too. Almost certainly, the CIA as an institution had nothing to do with the Kennedy assassination.
Sure. Okay? Just some bad actors, I guess.
Yeah, it's like a rogue plot. Like the guy that was in charge at the time, John McCone. He had nothing to do with the Kennedy assassination. 1,000%. But you got Alan Dulles, who, Alan Dulles is basically like the fucking evil Willy Wonka of world affairs, and he did all these coups everywhere, and basically Kennedy fired him for Dulles setting him up to look bad at the Bay of Pigs, because Kennedy was like, no, I'm never going to do air support, and Dulles was like, no, it'll be fine. You don't need to do air support, and then they need air support, and they're asking Mr. President, and he's like, no way. And Dulles is like, come on, what are you talking about? So anyway, he fires Dulles. Well, it turns out Dulles he writes in his date book, this is a document we have, that the weekend of the JFK assassination, he writes, "The Farm." The Farm is the CIA's domestic operational facility. I mean, like, so that's kind of a smoking gun, I would say. It's not an unsmoking gun. It's a warm gun. Happiness is a warm gun.
Sure. And I guess the crazy thing is like, if you think they're involved, like they thought they were so above everything that he would even write that down. Like where, they thought like, who cares? Like, I'll still just jot this shit down for permanent record.
Right on.
Not delete anything. All right, let's take a call. Phone lines are open. 1-888-949-2969. We're going to Frank from Long Island.
Hello?
Frank, are you there?
Yes, I am. Hey, what's up?
How's it going? You're on with Matt. Go ahead.
Hey, Matt, how are you? So, I don't think you've ever read this book. It's called "They've Killed the President: The Search for the Murderers of John Kennedy." It's actually one of the books that one of my parents had. I found it in the basement about 10, 15 years ago, and I read through the whole thing. I think it's actually even better than Jim Mars's book, Crossfire. It's made by or authored by Robert Sam Anson. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is because there's a big chapter in it that has the police officer, Robert Craig. And I was wondering if you know anything about him, where he was a police officer who knew something or didn't go along with the official story, and he was pretty much hunted down and killed, like kind of like a Gary Webb thing where, he escaped a couple of times, and years later, I think they found him dead in a hotel or something to that effect.
Yeah, well, most of that is pretty close there. And thank you for the call. Roger Craig is a guy who was a sheriff for the Dallas Sheriff's Office, and he won he was the sheriff of the year, I believe, in 1961
For all of America.
For Dallas County. So he was the top sheriff in the sheriff's department, and basically he's famous for a lot of things in the case. He was there when the gun is discovered, and he says that it's a Mauser, and it's not a Mauser. Supposedly it's a Mannlicher Carcano. That's the one that we have in evidence, but there's a whole famous subplot in the case about, is the gun a Mauser or a Mannlicher Carcano, and there's good reasons to argue why it could be a Mauser. Anyway, Roger Craig says that he saw it and it was a Mauser. He also says that as he was he's there, like he's a big eyewitness for a lot of stuff. So he sees two guys come running out of the back of the school book depository. And one of them runs down the hill. The other one, he goes out of sight. One of them comes running down the hill and gets into a light green Nash Rambler. 4 other people witnessed this person do this. There's 5 independent witnesses to this.
Wow.
3 of the witnesses, Roger Craig being one of them, said that person that ran down the hill was Lee Harvey Oswald. Okay, which isn't possible according to the official story, because Oswald was on a bus and he even has the bus pass in his pocket when he's picked up. So somebody's on that bus and somebody's coming down that hill. So we know that. So again, we're back to the 2 Oswalds, the imposter thing again. Then Roger Craig goes to the sheriff's, he calls the police and says what he saw. Then he's told, hey, come on into the police office, come into Captain Fritz's office, and we want you to see the suspect, because this is after they had arrested Oswald. And he says that he came in and it was the same guy, and Oswald was acting all weird, and obviously been acting weird. He got arrested, but he basically said that's Miss Payne's car. Don't bring her into this. That was his response when Craig came in and said, "Hey, I saw you come running down this hill." So the thing is,
who's Miss Payne?
Ruth Payne is the guy. Sorry, this is so thick. Sorry.
Yeah,
that's the landlord.
Ruth Payne's the lady that Marina and her child lived with.
Okay.
Who was probably an FBI informant tracking Marina as KGB, but might have been CIA affiliated. She's got a whole thing. Or maybe I'm wrong, and that's just my opinion, and don't sue me for defamation, Ruth Payne, although
still alive?
There would be an opportunity for discovery. Yeah, she's like 91.
Oh, okay.
And
I don't think she watches the show.
No, she doesn't. But
I don't think she's big on YouTube.
I've made it to the point, Danny, where I have haters who will like watch shows I'm on just so they can like write a blog about me.
Oh, are you in the Dabbleverse?
Anyway, Roger Craig. So he ends up. There's like 3 or 4 different attempts on his life, and he ends up. The official story is he committed suicide, but it was like with a shotgun, and it was like with the wrong hand and all this stuff, and yeah, I think they killed him because they blew his shoulder off before that. Before he actually.
Well, yeah, he was in front of the restaurant, and then he hit the deck, and I guess like a CIA or a spook car did a drive-by shooting on him. Another thing too regarding the Kevin Costner movie JFK is that if anybody's interested in like what you were saying before about how there was a domino theory cult going on, especially mixed in with wealthy financiers like Alan Dulles, because remember Alan Dulles owned the fruit. Well, maybe him and his brother owned the United Fruit Company. So these are wealthy financiers.
He was a lawyer for them, but he may have had relation. I want to say the Cabot Lodges owned that, but he had a relation to them and had aligned interests without a doubt.
Yeah, and anybody who's interested in this, just go and watch the JFK movie with Kevin Costner. Joe Pesci's in it, and it really goes through the whole Operation Mongoose cult, where you had a whole bunch of spooks, a whole bunch of degenerates, a whole bunch of outsiders, all working together to do all this stuff. And then when their plan fell through, they all went berserk. Wasn't there? I'm going to hang up right now, but wasn't there a guy named Frank Serpico or Frank something Sturgis?
Frank Sturgis.
Frank Sturgis. Could you talk on that? And thank you for the call.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Frank.
I haven't gotten deep on Frank Sturgis yet because he's like a combo Cuban exile intelligence figure. So I'll be getting to him in depth very soon. He had Frank Fiorini was his other name. But he's kind of this mysterious character who would like kind of flirt with like being involved, not involved. I'm pretty sure he was one of the Watergate burglars to my earlier point. Let's look that up. But
he was in the CIA or the FBI?
Again, I have not gone deep on Sturgis yet. I'm aware of him. This was weird about me. Like I know pretty much all there is to know about the things I've covered, and the things I haven't covered, I'm like,
sure,
fair enough. Big, yeah, he's definitely wasn't he in Watergate? I may be even speaking on that. Oh no, yeah, he was one of the Watergate burglars. Absolutely, let's go.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
that he was just he's like the Forrest Gump of these crimes, finding himself in all these things, kind of thing.
That's right.
And what was his role in the JFK?
In the JFK assassination, I mean, the question is, some people think he was one of the 3 tramps, but he's was involved with the Cuban exiles, basically, and. Was he born in Cuba? I don't know. I mean, I don't want to. Like I said, I'm not hip to. Here we go. He served in several branches of the U.S. military and in the Cuban Revolution of 1958, and worked as an undercover operative for the CIA, and was alleged to be involved in the assassination of John F. Kennedy. That's from Wikipedia.
And Watergate.
I just trust my heart. I was right.
Yeah, but the Watergate. The craziest thing is that he was involved in both.
All right, you ready for this? I'm gonna hit you with something.
Yeah.
Here we go. I'm gonna hit you with the Watergate magic. Here we go. This is coming from Danny Sheehan, okay?
Okay.
You can look up Danny Sheehan. I just spoke with Mr. Sheehan last week. I was standing next to him at the hearing. He's the guy with the white hair who's sitting right behind me. But he was a lawyer for Santos Trafficante, and he was also the lawyer for James McCord, one of the Watergate burglars. And he shares the story of how McCord had a check in his pocket that basically is what they were paying them, like the money to do the work. They weren't doing it as CIA, right? They just happened to be CIA. These people were doing it off the books. That check, according to Danny Sheehan, went to the same bank account at the Banco Comercial Internacional in Mexico City, and the same account that paid the hit team that killed JFK.
What?
And
they don't pay these guys in cash.
Right? I know.
You're writing fucking checks?
Well, there'd have to be, think about it. That actually doesn't make a ton of sense. But apparently there was a check. There's a whole thing. I mean, no, you're right.
Yeah.
I don't
No. I mean, look, my feeling on this whole JFK thing, at minimum, is they felt so protected that they could kind of do whatever. Like they're just going to kill the president in public. You know, they're going to shoot him multiple times. They're going to be like, it was just one bullet. Like, you know, all these things where you look back on now and you go, this is ludicrous that this was the official narrative when it's so clearly nonsense.
Yeah, there's a lot of coincidences, but the question is like, what's your coincidence threshold? You know, there's too many for me. I'm down.
I agree. Yeah, way too many coincidences. All right, let's take another call here. Phone lines are open, everybody. 1-888-949-2969. We've got T on the line, and T just disappeared. So let's go to Rob in South Carolina. Hold on. Please unmute yourselves in a timely manner. No, we don't got Rob. All right, let's try someone else. And what always happens here is then I ask someone else to unmute themselves, and then the person who was originally asked comes on the line at the same time. All right, Slav, are you there?
Whoop.
What's up?
Hey, what's going on?
How's it going?
Hey, what's up, man?
I have a theory on how he died. I don't think he got shot. I think he just sneezed. We all have had a sneeze where it felt like that.
Slav, this isn't an open mic.
No, I was no, I had a comment on LBJ. And Jack yelling asses. So obviously, you know how like JFK was like forced to take LBJ he was convinced, not so much forced, to take LBJ as a VP. And
what was the backstory of LBJ being his VP? Either of you? Like when you're saying he was forced?
No, that's true. He was.
Matt would know.
I've done the research, but I'm about to dive back into LBJ. That's an upcoming series I got. But he was at the Democratic National Convention. He was basically like the night before. A lot of pressure was put on Kennedy to switch by LBJ, and basically, I'm pretty sure they showed him a folder full of photos of him and a bunch of women, and they
really
straight up blackmail scenario is my recollection. But don't hold me to anything unless it has a photo.
What was LBJ's background prior to being VP?
Straight killer, just gangster thug. No, he was involved in. He was the leader of the Senate. He was the majority leader in the Senate. I believe he was in Congress before that. He went to a teacher's college, but he was pretty dominant. I mean, he told everybody when he was growing up that I'm going to be the president one day. I'm going to be the president one day. And he starts his career out with this ballot stuffing scandal where they just bring in an extra box that they found. Oh, look, we found this. How many votes did you say we were down by? 2,412. We found a box with 2,413. That's so weird.
Wow.
Like, it was basically that. And he had all kinds of scandals going on at the time of the assassination. There's all kinds of shadiness about Lyndon Johnson. I mean, it's very interesting. He's a bad guy no matter what. The most interesting thing about him, not most interesting, but one of the more interesting things is he gets all this credit for civil rights, and he's probably the most racist president to ever live. I mean, like among presidents who lived in like an era that wasn't full blown racist.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like he had this aide that was like this black guy that was like an aide for civil rights stuff, I believe. And he writes in the front of his book's about how LBJ did all these great things for society. But he's like, I do think I need to give a disclaimer. He told me one time I asked him a question and he said, "Don't talk, boy. You're an N-word. You'll always be an N-word. Just sit there and pretend you're a piece of furniture."
Wow.
So that's the big hero. It
was a different time.
Yeah, but you shouldn't get credit
things were
for that.
different back then.
Things were different. Yeah. I wish he would have sneezed.
But
and
what
had
is it? So what I did want to bring up with that was, first off, you know about LBJ's jumbo, right?
Yes.
What's that?
Yeah.
Piece
Danny,
on him?
You know about
Tell him,
jumbo.
Slav.
Tell him. Tell me.
Oh yeah. So he was incredibly well endowed. That
Good for him.
He loved to show it off.
Really?
He would
pull it out regularly.
He was endowed soft. Not
Like
just
a
endowed
Milton
hard,
Berle
he was endowed
situation.
soft.
He would roll it
Yeah,
out.
no, there was even accounts where when they would have like White House meetings, or just any sort of meetings, he would go into the bath. He would follow the people he was gonna be like arguing against or meeting with. He would follow them into the bathroom because they'd go take a piss, and he'd stand next to them and just like whip it out and just stand back a bit, be able to piss in and just show it off and look straight them, look at them the whole time. Like he's like, huh, pretty nice, huh? And
Crazy.
he showed off the AIDS and everything. Yeah, what is it?
Where we can start? Where we can say there, Matt?
I was just gonna say he also bathroom related would have his cabinet follow him into the bathroom when he took a shit, and he would shit with the door open and continue meetings and force them to be there with him while he shat.
What?
With the stall open. Yeah.
This guy's a maniac.
Yeah, that's called big dick energy.
So listen, I think the character Frank Underwood from House of Cards is largely based on LBJ. I would have to imagine.
Yeah. Was he a Southerner, LBJ?
So
yeah.
Yes, so to tie in with Jackie Onassis.
Yeah.
How many times, how often do you think he showed it off to her before and after JFK sneezed in Dallas? And how many times do you think he was plowing her out because...
Was there any rumors of a Jackie O LBJ tryst?
I have two things I can
because
say about
JFK was philandering.
Yeah. I mean, that would be a good revenge. Bang the vice president with a huge piece.
Okay, so here's the thing: we have recorded tapes. And I know you're messing around, Slob. I'm gonna answer your question seriously. We have recorded tapes of LBJ talking to Jackie, and he's creepy.
Oh, I wasn't kidding around. Kidding around. Like I legit think he was splitting her in half.
Okay. Well, there's also I'll say this too. Jackie gave an interview to this Henry Livingston, I believe his name is, in 1965, and she talks about kind of what she really thinks happened, and she talks about what she really thinks about LBJ. But her condition of giving the interview candidly was that it doesn't get released for 100 years. So that comes out in 2067.
Oh shit!
So
Where
there's
is it
something
now?
there. I think it's in the National Archives, being held until 2067, and it can't be released it would require an act of Congress to overcome the deed request, basically, because Jackie can't. The National Archives only has it on the condition that they wait till 2067 to release it.
Right. Crazy.
And then you mentioned Cubans. I just wanted to throw this in before get a response on this. So there was a bunch, about how there was a bunch of Cubans who survived Bay of Pigs, the ones who were working on the behest of, and they all turn up at every single famous assassination, highly publicized. And
What other ones?
That it was Cubans, RFK Jr. and John Lennon. Those are the two. I mean, I'm going off.
The Cubans got Lennon?
I think you're thinking about David Morales. And David Morales, I'm not deep on the RFK side of things. Maybe I'd like to go one day. David Morales, I have heard, was at the RFK assassination, and he may have been the guy, the Latin guy who was driving the Nash Rambler that the guy coming down the hill jumped into. So who knows?
Coincidences galore and all this stuff.
Yeah, because what is it? The doorman to John Lennon's. Like you stayed at either that hotel. Yeah.
Slav, I'm gonna. You're not gonna like this, but so that's not true. And here's what it is. The guy's got the same name. Okay. Has the same name as a Cuban exile, the guy who was the doorman. And here's how I know it's not true. There's a guy named James Whalen, I believe his name is David Whalen. David Whalen. He has a book called The Assassination of John Lennon. He has all the original files from the New York police, and he tracked that down, found the guy who it was, found out that it's just a guy. They have different middle names.
Oh, gotcha.
But now listen, there's a lot there. I encourage people to look and get the book, The Assassination of John Lennon. And there's primary evidence there. I mean, I think it's not nothing. It's worth looking at. There's
Like you're saying, it wasn't just some crazy dude. Just
the autopsy has issues. They cremated him like within 18 hours. The shots on the death certificate don't match up with the eyewitnesses where they said the shots were. Well, there's a lot of things.
What's the theory there? Yoko did it because she broke up the Beatles?
No, the theory is that John Hinckley was David Chapman. Hinckley is Reagan. John David Chapman was basically MK Ultra because he also had a book. What's that book?
Yeah, I can see that. But also,
gotcha.
I guess that bad news makes sense because all these cucarachas, they all pretty much have like the most similar names, and they all kind of look the same. So,
classic.
I mean,
Slav.
I can tell apart a Cuban from a Mexican by the way they talk.
Yeah, I mean, different accent. All right, Slav. Thanks, man. Slav, everybody. Yeah, that's. I've been trying to have John Hinckley on the show. Actually, I follow him on. Do you follow him on Twitter?
No, I think he plays guitar, doesn't he?
He plays guitar. I think it's the funniest thing in the world. So he he's been out of jail for a little bit, and he does music and art now. And he always posts on Twitter, and he'll always he lives in Virginia or West Virginia, one of them. I think he lives in Virginia. And he always tries to play shows. Like he'll do I'm doing a show at 3 p.m. and like the way the internet is, everybody's like, oh, this is awesome. Like we ironically, but then people complain and the shows always get canceled because he'll try and do like a show at a coffee shop and people are like, that guy tried to kill Reagan. And so they get shut down. And then he sells his art on eBay. He'll be like, he does these like cat paintings and he'll post a cat painting on eBay and then people will buy them, but then they don't pay for them. So like he can't even sell his art. So he's just trying to,
He should team up with Hunter. Him and Hunter Biden could have an art show.
They could. That would be a banger, actually, if they did that.
Dude. Hit me up if you go.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to get him on the podcast. I've emailed him because he puts his email and he just doesn't respond. I think maybe he wants money. All right, let's take another call here. We're going to second time's a charm. Let's see if we can get T. Are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
How's it going? You are on with Matt Crumpton. Go ahead.
What's up, T?
Nice. I do have a question related to JFK and whatnot, and that is to Matt. More specifically, it's so specifically regarding like what would you call it? The Israeli connection, and like that account of I think the Egyptian guy from the files who said like he thinks it was Israel.
Can you speak up? Can you speak up a little bit? You're a little difficult to hear.
All right. Here. Can you hear?
Oh, way better. Way better.
Yeah. Great. Speaking about like the JFK thing, that I think Egyptian guy from the files who said like he thinks it was Israel. How trustworthy is he?
What guy?
Like they have on file that they had like some Egyptian guy I think who like I remember watching the Wendigoon video. Did you hear about that?
The what video?
Did you say Wendigoon?
Yeah,
I think it's a
YouTuber.
It's a YouTuber.
No, I'm not. I don't know about that one.
Did you see the conspiracy theorist like guy?
No.
Oh yeah, we haven't seen it. Just tell what's the video?
Okay,
What does he say in the video?
He just goes over the JFK files on that was released.
Okay, but what was the what's the Egyptian Israeli tie-in here?
Where they basically just said like how like he just went on about how like he personally thinks it was Israel that was responsible for it. And
solely?
He was
like Israel and nobody else? It was just Israel?
No, obviously in conjunction with the government, like insiders in the government. But like
gotcha.
He believes they had a hand in that and they had the motivation to do that.
So here's what I'll say and about Israel, and just my big disclaimer is I have not studied this in depth yet, although I have studied a lot of the rest of the case in extreme depth. but Israel had motive for sure. I don't, the whole APAC thing and the Dimona nuclear reactor. So yeah, Kennedy was doing some things that was I'm sure not in the interests of the nation state of Israel. But tying that to means and opportunity, it's kind of a different thing. That's why what I brought up earlier, this document that shows that, hey, Israeli operational people are introduced to the guy who does assassinations regarding the Cuban business. What is this? So I think if they are involved, my guess of what it would look like would be very, very tangential. And potentially, it's looking like James Angleton would be, the guy. Oswald's files are routed to James Angleton, who's the chief of the counterintelligence chief of the CIA. And there's a whole big dispute and debate right now because the files actually weren't routed to Angleton himself. They were routed to Angleton's secretary. So Gerald Posner and all these people were saying like, "Oh, you have nothing. You have no proof." But it's like, bro, if it goes to the guy's secretary, like, what do you think that is? You think
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, so there's people find something to argue about for everything. But on Israel, I think, yeah, like, let's go down the road. I want, my whole thing is, like, during COVID, man, when people said, well, I'm not even going to entertain that idea because that's a conspiracy theory. Like, how many of those things ended up being true,
Right.
And so I'm not going to treat people the same way that they treated me and us, probably a lot of people watching the show. So look, let's unpack all of them. Let's do it. I did the driver did it theory and the Secret Service follow-up car guy did it theory, and I don't think that those are credible. But I lay out the evidence and I understand the arguments people make, and that's I lay it out in my episode before last, kind of break those ones down. But
Cool.
yeah, we're covering them all.
Yeah. All right. Anything else there, caller?
I do have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Have you heard of Dick Masterson, like his podcast?
Yeah, I'm friends with him.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, cool
So I just wondering if like any collabs or anything, because basically probably my two favorite podcasts, comedy specifically at least.
Yeah. I mean, I've been when I'm in LA, like I usually go on his show, and I've done some stuff with Dick Masterson. I don't know if he does guests, but you would be like Zoom guests, but you would probably be good for him. He's got a big show, Matt. I can connect the two of you. He's funny. He's absolutely hilarious. He did the thing where he, during the Netflix protests in like 2021, when they were like, Netflix did this walkout, and then him and Vito, this guy went there, and some person like pushed him into like a tree planter and gave him a concussion. You would have had to be there. I don't know.
Sounds fun.
All right, thanks for calling in, man. All right, let's take some more calls here. Phone lines are. We'll probably have time for maybe one more caller, one or two. We got Rob from South Carolina, and then Jared, who will probably give us a lot of information on Israel. Rob from South Carolina, not picking up. So let's go to Jared. Jared, are you there?
Yes, sir. Happy to be here.
What's happening? You are on with Matt. Go ahead.
What's up, Jared?
Well, I just want to say, Matt, hey, nice to chat with you. I saw your little debate with Fred Litwin.
Yeah.
Just discussing a little bit of the autopsy and a few of the other details. I just wanted to get a little bit of a brief on what it is you do. I saw you're a lawyer, so you could discern information accordingly. The idea that I wanted to discuss today was James Angleton.
Yeah.
And in Israel. Whenever I call, it's about Israel or this particular subject in some format or another. And from just to catch up, everyone who wasn't here last week, Angleton was the chief of counterintelligence for 20 years. He ran the Israel desk in its infancy, in its creation. He was great friends with Ben Gurion. And what I wanted to discuss was the assistance he provided Israel with acquiring plutonium through his connections with his friend that he met, who was an Israeli intelligence officer by the name of Meme da Shalit, and his wife, who had spent time in Washington, and then moved back to Israel. Mehmet Dishalit's brother was a professor of atomic energy studies at Tel Aviv University, and pivotal in what became.
And so what's the tie-in here with
program.
JFK? Essentially, with the whole them trying to shut down the nuclear program, reactor, or whatever.
Exactly, the assassination as a result of his opposition to the nuclear program that they were working on. And this gets into the whistleblower Mordecai von Unu, who was eventually, long story short, after trying to go to the newspapers, he befriended a certain gentleman when he was in Australia after leaving the nuclear program and taking pictures of what was going on at Dimona. What happened was he divulged this information to a gentleman, I believe was from Colombia, Mr. Guerrero. And what transpired was that man then went to Israel and said, I got this defector, and I can get you information on what it is he's planning on divulging. And he connected him with a certain individual who was at the Sunday Times. And after a little bit of deliberation, he ended up, Mr. Mordecai von Unu decided to divulge this information, which was technically against his non-disclosure agreement, which obviously aggravated them. And as a result of this, what transpired was he ended up getting kidnapped after a honeypot seduced him, convinced him to go to Rome, and they snatched him up. He spent 18 years in prison in Israel, and then subsequently multiple arrests and more nonsense as a result of just trying. He couldn't even leave the country.
Was he? What was his nationality? This Mordecai von whatever.
He was actually Israeli, and he actually converted to Christianity. And what happened? Apathetic to Mizrahi and Sephardic Jews, and felt that they were treated unfairly by the Ashkenazi. And you can just look this up on. That's even on Wikipedia. Some of that stuff.
Anything to comment here, Matt?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Jared, I'm gonna ask you a question if I could, Jared. And I asked this just because it sounds like you're hip to this argument. So what would you say is the I've seen lots of arguments and good evidence to show motive. What would you say is the best thing that shows, like, hey, Israel had more than just motive? They actually were, had some level of involvement. Is there anything you're aware of?
Well, it was the contentious relationship between Kennedy and Ben-Gurion. He had been pushing for inspections of the Dimona facility, and Ben-Gurion ends up eventually resigning within I think it was 3 weeks. Kennedy is assassinated, and it was essentially that there's correspondence between the two. He said, my country needs this, and when anyone who opposes us
needs
doing
this, as in
is our enemy.
Kennedy being assassinated.
No, needs nuclear capabilities.
Gotcha.
But and anyone who opposes this is an enemy of Israel, and they would not stand for anything of the sort, because their plan at that point was to create a deterrent to a pushback from what happened in what would eventually be the 6-Day War that would happen a few years later, 4 years later. So that's the premise.
I've got a lot to learn on the Israeli side of things. I know a fair amount on the Angleton side, but like I said, I'll keep an open mind to it and examine the arguments on all sides, and look forward to diving into Israel more in the future.
Yeah, but I guess not a lot of evidence in the files.
I mean, there's
Angleton did.
Go ahead.
I was to say, Angleton did get that nice little plaque at a park he used to frequent that kind of gave him that little
Yeah.
stamp. He was
Yeah,
involved in Operation Gladio, and he spoke of Mongoose, and
Right.
Mongoose is under the umbrella of Gladio. And
I mean, it's
as we
not disputed that James Angleton had a very tight relationship with Israeli intelligence. I mean, that's 1,000%.
that was a 20-year span, so it's
Now, would he have had relationships similarly with other countries' intelligence agencies?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I know that if so, it wouldn't have been many that he was the liaison for. I mean,
Right.
Now he was also
Could I ask you a question?
counterintelligence. Go ahead.
What is counterintelligence? Counterintelligence is offensive, often procedures to destabilize in the form that it took, like Gladio, to influence political structures, whether it be through protest, financial, or just straight out terrorism. And as we know, like the first 4 prime ministers of Israel were all members of terrorist organizations. And that's like not disputed. They were even labeled terrorist organizations. Lehi and Irgun were labeled terrorist organizations by Israel.
Yeah.
So like when you consider their foundation, what they were built on, like Mossad's, former motto, war by deception.
Yeah.
So it's fun stuff, and I just wanted to say thanks for your time. I think you're doing good things. I appreciate anyone who's doing research, and you're a good man.
Thanks, buddy.
Until the next time.
Jared,
Thanks,
everybody. All right. Well, let's take 2 more calls, and then I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you again, Matt, for coming on.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
We got Aaron here. Guys, please unmute yourselves. That's all I can do. I can't, unfortunately. Oh, here we go. Aaron, are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, what's up?
You are on with Matt.
Good,
Go
good.
ahead.
Yeah, hi. So I wanted to talk. My thoughts were not specifically to the JFK assassination in particular, but more on more on the idea of conspiracy theory in general, which I'm sure you know it's a term that has been used or fabricated by the CIA.
Based on this, right?
Based on this, absolutely. But what's fascinating is how people seem to be aware of it. Like even if you're aware of that, even someone who would be aware of the or origination, they still allow it to have the same meaning, even when it's absolutely meaningless, except for its propaganda connotation. I'll give an example. Like if you say 9/11 was an inside job, people will call you a conspiracy theorist. But if you say 9/11 was conspired by Osama bin Laden and other terrorists, you won't say, hey, that's a conspiracy theorist, even though they're both conspiracy theories in the same way. So there's like no meaning to even calling it, except for the exact propaganda connotation.
Yeah, it's made to basically kind of just discredit somebody. Someone says something, you go, that's a conspiracy theory, and moving on.
And the
right,
corporate
100%.
Yeah, the corporate press using it has really kind of just led to mainstream adoption of it, and then it's gotten politicized recently, where one side's calling the other side conspiracy theorist a lot, even though both sides, I think the red team could call the blue team conspiracy theorists too if you look at Russiagate.
Sure, I mean that was literally a massive conspiracy theory.
Yep.
100%. My point is more on how it's meaningless. Like even if it isn't conspiracy theorist, it doesn't attack the substance at all. So like that fact that we try to people try to say, oh no, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, or oh no, I'm not. This is not a conspiracy theory. Instead of saying, oh no, this theory has more evidence than other theories. Like I think it's problematic and feeds into the continuing effectiveness of the propaganda tool. Like it goes back to one example, like when both sides are conspiracy theory, the government or standard the standard theory that everyone goes with, can be a conspiracy. Like, for example, the theory is 9/11, well, that terrorists conspired to do it, as opposed to the government conspired. So why do people say, like, oh, this is not a conspiracy theory because it has evidence, as opposed to saying it is a conspiracy theory, it just has more evidence that, or
well, there's a
or saying, like, the
conspiracy.
Russians-
Well, there's a conspiracy and there's a conspiracy theory. Like, we know that the government partakes in conspiracies, like conspires to do things all the time. Like, we know that for a fact. I think it's when you don't have evidence of it, then they go, that's a conspiracy theory.
That's, but why don't they just do that's a theory?
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
it's a
dude,
theory of a conspiracy.
Yeah, I mean, as a practical matter, it gains secondary meaning over time.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can tell you, like, from personal experience, in season 1 of my podcast, I used the term conspiracy theorist because I was kind of trying to, like, point out, like, look, their arguments aren't that crazy, you know, and this is the conspiracy argument. But then I realized, like, look, I'm buying into the framing of this, which, and a lot of people didn't understand. They thought that I think that's why people think the show is so balanced, because I say conspiracy theorists a lot in season 1. Now I say critics. I say official story critics is my term.
Yeah, I think that's valid, and I think more people need to. I think by not doing that, like, for example, if when two things are a theory, like even when both sides are a theory, like, you won't say they would, and one's I'll say a lone wolf theory. No one will call it a lone wolf theory, even if it has less substance. But they'll call it a conspiracy theory to discredit it. And that's and
I mean, but you're answering your question. That's exactly why they do it, is because they're trying to discredit it.
Right.
Right.
It's the same as, like, everybody calling everybody racist for the last, like, 8 years, you know, and you're just like, it's not racist. And they go, well, you're racist, so I don't have to listen to you.
Right. No, but the point is that even if it is what it is, it's not bad. You shouldn't be arguing, hey, this is not a conspiracy theory. You should be saying, hey, this is a conspiracy theory with a lot of evidence.
Sure.
Like,
I mean, look, you're preaching to the choir right here. We all agree on that, I think. And obviously the term conspiracy theorist was started to literally discredit the people who were looking into alternatives to the JFK, right? As just like, hey, these are nuts. Don't listen to them. There was one shot and one bullet, and you know, stop asking questions.
Like, it's like, man, why does the CIA care about every article and every book that's written if they have nothing to hide? Wouldn't they just go, oh, those crazy kooks, and they would move on with, like, gathering intelligence?
Yeah.
They wouldn't be tracking what conference Mark Lane's going to in the 90s. That's
Right.
pretty weird.
They actually did that. They were just tracking.
Yeah, there's declassified documents. It shows that, you know, they had all the attendees from this big JFK conference in the 90s in Brazil, and they had a list of them, and it's declassified files. Like, it's creepy. Why are they doing that?
Yeah. For what? Yeah. Instead of investigating themselves. All right, Aaron, I gotta let you go. Thanks, man. Oh, I hung up on him. All right. That has been this portion of the show. We're gonna go in a little overtime. But that is it with Matt. Thank you so much, Matt, for coming on. I appreciate it very much. When's the new season of the podcast coming out? Did you say Wednesday?
Yeah, no, season 3, we just finished Secret Service. We got recap and rebuttals for Secret Service. Then I got an episode on my top 10 documents that have come out. And then we get into J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI. Then we go on to Lyndon Johnson.
Fantastic. Excellent. And Solving JFK is the podcast. You can find you Solving JFK or Matt Crumpton on Twitter. Anything else? And when's the episodes come out?
Wednesday mornings.
Wednesday mornings. Okay. Matt Crumpton, thank you very much for coming back on. That was very fun stuff. I appreciate it. Take care.
Appreciate it, man. See ya.
Matt Crumpton, everybody. All right. Let me do this. Oh, I did it in a good order. All right, we're going to go into some low value mail overtime. Let's see what happened with the super chats. Okay. Schneider says, good job. Thanks, Schneider. Eric Spencer. The Penguin Island line is a smokescreen. Canada and China are parroting it when World Bank declares it's exporting electronics and computer hardware. Yeah, that's kind of what I said at the beginning, quoting Howard Lutnick, where essentially he goes, we're not that stupid. Like, the reason why we're doing that is for this exact reason. Yep says North Koreans pissed in my future drugs. And then he goes on to say the dead prez isn't even on money no mo. Who cares? Was JFK ever on the money? Yep says Domino's in car oven era was the start to the new Holocaust. Reagan Foster wants to know, does guest wash legs? Also, he looks like he works in loss prevention at Walmart. Speaking from experience. Were you speaking from experience as someone who works at Walmart or from someone who steals from Walmart? Logan says, does our esteemed guest collect anything odd? Stamps, Legos, Funko Pop, paraphernalia, etc. I didn't get a chance to ask him that. Gimp Gladly says, 2 minutes. Come on, Scroats. Yep. 5 more. Logan says, I'm tapping out. Not the show, but the boathouse money is spent. I imagine he says. Bathhouse, and then Yep says G-A-Y, and Vincent with another Y, which is gay. All right, well, the phone lines are open, everybody. 1-888-949-2969. I'm going to give away a patreon.com membership, 6-month membership to one of these super chatters. And if you want to call in, if you have anything we want to talk about, anything to add, we still have Rob from South Carolina on the phone, but every time I try to pick it up, he just won't unmute himself. I really wonder what goes on his end. Is he just blacked out? Like, did he call in, but then he fell asleep and he's just kind of on the line? I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that. But he will not pick up. I wouldn't go as far as say I'm concerned about Rob from South Carolina, but I mean, like sometimes I wonder, like, is this too confusing? I mean, everybody else figures it out. What is it? Okay, well, we got Slav back. We'll talk to Slav here. We'll work some of his open mic jokes on us. Slav, are you there?
Hey, what's going on? Hey, I guess last week's Bathhouse wasn't the best show to explain Kalergi plan, but I've got it very summarized.
Okay. You know what it is so I'll give you one part of it though, is that like I entertain this stuff because I'm interested in it, but I think a lot of like normal people are just I can't listen. They're like, I can't listen to this for fucking another 20 minutes.
It was just that Robbie was there, and it is interesting because there'll be people who talk about they'll describe everything about Great Replacement and Kalergi and Power Province strategy, but they won't name those actual names because if you type those names in, they all say it's some white supremacist conspiracy theory. But okay, basically this is the rundown. Jews have been kicked out from so many different places that wherever they end up, right? Basically, it is Jews just don't like Christians, and the Christians have always been like, hey, every time you guys show up, well, very hardcore Jews don't like Christians. Yeah, they don't like.
I mean, very hardcore Jews don't like other Jews. They don't even like the.
Yeah, I mean,
they don't even like the hardcore Jews, like the ones you see with like the funny hats in Williamsburg and stuff. Like if you're not in their little fucking sect, they don't like you either, even if you're Jewish.
Oh, hey, notice how they can exclude people, but white people can't? Yeah, interesting. So, so basically with the Kalergi plan, so they get kicked out. Okay, yeah, they're mad about people liking Jesus and that them killing Jesus created a whole new religion. But basically their whole thing is... you
think they're just haters because Christianity came second and it took off?
And it's the more morally superior one. I mean, Jews are told we can lie to the Gentile about our religion all we want. They're allowed to. I mean, Jews don't even swear on Bible.
I mean, I went to Hebrew school for 9 years. I never got that lesson.
But yeah, no, literally, if you swear on the Torah allows you to lie to the Gentile. And
I know that might be buried in there somewhere, but it's not something they teach. That's like saying like, you hear this thing in the Bible, like all Christians obviously believe all this. And you're like, no, they don't.
So basically what it is with the Kalergi plan, the whole trope is right-wing Jews start wars in the Middle East so left-wing Jews can welcome their refugees.
Yeah.
And and it's always been of we need to normalize. Like, if you read Kalergi's actual quote, he's like, we're going to create a whole new race by eliminating the white race. And
Which I'm fully for. I just like people to know that. Just my position on that. I'm fully for eliminating the white race.
That's no. Okay, well, I guess I'm unsubscribing. I mean, literally 95% of the world can be contributed to a certain geographical area that's literally from France.
I did see a
to
tweet on Twitter. You know what's so funny too? Like, Twitter is like, I mean, I think I said this on Boys Cast, but like, Twitter is like fucking unusable in public because like the amount of just crazy, like either sex shit or like insanely racist stuff that just comes up in your like For You
you know what's
feed.
funny about that? You know what's funny about all those accounts that have like,
Are they all Indian?
so-called racist or crime statistics or all those translated Hitler reels and all that? Guess
Yeah.
what? 60% of those people posting are all Israeli accounts. It is the most perfect system these conniving kikes figured out. Instead of
Hey, I'm trying to have a YouTube channel here.
What is it? They don't even have to print their own propaganda posters. They can literally create anti-Semitism. Like before, when I was growing up, it was. I mean,
Look,
this even happened
here's the thing with the anti-Semitism stuff. There's no
rabbis.
like the actual real world
rabbis.
anti-Semitism is
No.
almost non-existent.
There is. It's like, what is it? It's like rabbis who get caught spray painting swastikas.
Sure.
On their own synagogue.
But that doesn't mean that there aren't real ones. Like that stuff does happen in real life. But again, both of those things happen in very limited amounts.
But now it's gone to the digital sphere where they literally have okay, there are Russian bot farms. Yeah, that's real.
Every country has. I guarantee. Like, there's American bot farms. There's North Korean bot farms. I mean,
the Israelis.
There's definitely Israeli bot farms.
Yeah, but the Israeli bot farms make up 60% of all so-called anti-Semitic.
Where did you read that? Seems like the most made-up statistic. What did Jared tell you that?
No, I don't talk to any of these people.
I mean, I think some people want you two to start a podcast. I don't know where the hell it would be hosted.
I forgot, dude. I'm trying to remember where I heard it. Maybe I heard it on the Burn Pit, or I forgot where I heard it. And then I looked into it. Yeah, no, they have like, you know how there's.
I mean, of the accounts that I see that post that stuff, I know for a fact they're not Israeli.
What's that Israeli software tech firm that just bought Google or Apple?
I don't remember, but I know what you're talking about. I don't know the name.
It's like Avi Software or something like that. And all of the people who work there, they're from like a special unit called like 003.
Yeah, no, Jared's told us 8200.
Yeah, 8200. Yeah, some of the people from 8200 went off and did their own bot farms. Those are the.
Look, I am not disputing that those conniving Jews are up to doing bot farms. I'm just saying those accounts on Twitter of like those like Nazi accounts, those aren't Israelis. Like the one of the main ones, that 1984 account, whose website is I think badgoy.com or something, and he sells all this merch. Like someone did some piece on him, and they found the guy. He's not an Israeli.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, but back to the Corgi plan, that they're literally trying to replace the only thing that's brought like industrialization to the world.
Yeah.
And and honestly, like 15 years ago, America looked like America demographically. I went back to Houston, and like I was hanging out my kid cousin and his parents, and went to like a playground park. It was packed. They had like a little whole giant built playground thing, multi-story.
And let me guess, all just cute white families.
We were the only white.
Well, you know what? I mean, Texas used to be Mexico.
No, it ain't right. It ain't.
But Texas used to be Mexico. You obviously took in all these Mexicans. I don't know if you're saying they're not Mexican.
why are there no hyenas in the Arctic? Why are there Somalis in Minneapolis? I'm sorry.
I mean,
people
that's
from the
good
equator
question.
have no business being in places with with Arctic polar conditions.
I mean, I understand what you're saying. I mean, people move where the money's good.
Do you not have like an inherent feeling like if you go somewhere and you expect like a certain people and then you see a whole bunch of more people, you're like, y'all look at a place like.
Yeah, it's why they invented gated communities. All right, I gotta let you go, Slav, because I got a bunch of callers. Slav, everybody. Okay, let's go. We have a strange sighting call. Let's see if we can. Fred, are you there?
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Danny.
What's happening?
Oh, whoops. Wrong. Are you talking to Freddie here?
Yeah, Freddie. We're talking to Freddie. This is Danny.
Oh, hey, what's up, Danny? How you doing? Big fan of the show.
Oh, thanks, man. I don't know if we've ever spoken before. This might be a first-time caller.
Yeah, from Prescott, Arizona.
Cool. Love Arizona.
Yeah, how's your night going?
Pretty good so far. Got to pee really badly, but I'm going to tough it out for the next 20 minutes. Try not to soil myself,
Sounds good.
Just podcast things.
Okay, for sure. Yeah, I was calling about an earlier caller, the earlier segment, when he was speaking about the helicopters and the UFO sighting that not many people in Kansas City, I think it was, happened to see. Remember that one?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Goog. The Goog.
Yeah. That reminded me of an experience that I had back in about 2002 in Toronto.
Okay.
So I'm not from Canada, but I ended up spending a number of months there and befriended some people, played in a local band, got into some trouble and all that. But one of the friends I made was a guy called himself Sonic Dave. He actually ran for mayor once or twice, Sonic Dave, and I would cruise around town with him. And
let me guess, you guys hung out in Kensington Market.
Oh yeah, that's kind of where the Murder Squad, the band I played in, was based. Yeah, you got it, man. Absolutely. So anyway, the first time that Sonic Dave came to the house on Queen Street where I was staying, we heard a helicopter, and sure enough, he knew exactly what was going on. He had a camcorder at the ready, and I walked outside with him, and this black tinted windows, no markings, camera on the front was hovering right on top of our house, filming him while he filmed them. And, after that, he showed me a bunch of footage he had, not only of these helicopters, which I saw only when I was with him, like 2 or 3 other times. It was pretty interesting.
What was he getting up to that he had helicopters following him?
Well, he was running for mayor, and he was really involved with the First Nations people, environmental issues. He was like an activist kind of guy.
Gotcha. Man, they're really pulling out the stops to surveil him.
After 9/11, this is something that I heard, is that part of the Patriot Act was that a certain number of miles north of the U.S.-Canada border was effectively under surveillance by U.S. authorities. I'm not sure. It was like 90% of Canada's population, because most of the population is, only
That's
a certain
true?
number of
In the
miles.
Patriot Act, they had American helicopters surveilling Canadians?
I mean, I don't know if it specified helicopters, but, it left me wondering if that was part of that program.
I mean, that's crazy. That's news to me.
Right. Yeah, he also pointed out, and he had footage. He showed me the footage first before he pointed them out in the sky. This is what the caller really reminded me of, was these hovering planes over the city. And I never got a feeling that it was anything but government activity.
Yeah. I mean, the Toronto police were helicopter surveilling Rob Ford for a while when they thought he was maybe mixed up in some cold case murders. They were literally like he would be
wow.
literally just helicopters in the sky, just following around the mayor of the city.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
That was,
whatever happened to that guy? Whatever happened to that Dave guy?
Oh, I lost contact with him. You know, he was a very eccentric dude. But I just wanted to say, I started to see these hovering planes all the time. You could only see them on a clear night, and they would blend in with the night sky, but you could totally tell, like with his camera, you could zoom in and see the outline of a plane, and it had one light, you know, I guess that was part of the, camouflage. And, you know, I could point them out to other people, and they'd see him too, and they would move once in a while. They would start to kind of slowly drift, you know, one way or another, and it was just very odd.
Wild. All right.
That was like, yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy.
That was all at the same time after 9/11, when I was introduced to Bill Cooper's book, Behold a Pale Horse, and Operation Northwood from the Freedom of Information Act, and all kinds of stuff. So to see all that one after the other was
we always assumed in Canada like that stuff wasn't really happening in Canada, especially after 9/11, but I guess it was. All right, thanks for calling in. Appreciate it. All right, let's take a call here. I'm going to give away a Patreon membership. Let's just do this quickly now. Shuffle. The winner gets a 6-month Patreon.com low value mail membership. And the winner is Poison 1553. Poison 1553. There you go. There you have it. Poison 1553. If you won, please get a hold of me. If you're already a Patreon, let me know, and I will message you, message me, or I'll extend your thing. Sorry, I'm getting mixed up here. We got I think I assume is Gimp Gladly. Are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can. What's up?
Not much. I've been pushing to for a guest on the show. I don't know if you've seen I guess in the Patreon chat I've mentioned it a few times. But
for a deaf?
Uneducated economist? Yeah.
Oh, for a guest. Yeah. I have it on my list, actually. Mark is the best guy. Mark, uneducated economist. Yeah, I have it on my list of guests. Maybe didn't share it with Mark, but he has a YouTube channel?
Yeah, and that's the name of his channel, and you can.
Oh, you know what?
His email.
Yeah.
Is that at Gmail? And yeah.
Okay, yeah. You know what? I think I looked him up on Twitter, but I think if I recall correctly, he didn't have inbox. Like I couldn't, or maybe I couldn't find him.
Yeah, I don't know how active he is on.
Yeah,
on
you know
Twitter
what? So he's on Twitter. He's on Twitter, but
I think it's like uneducated econ or something.
Yeah, I found him, but you can't DM him on Twitter. I think that was the issue. But if he has an email, I'll try and reach out to him.
Yeah, it's just the uneducated or rather, it's the same as his YouTube name. You can find it on his YouTube profile, but it's just a Gmail account. But I just thought he'd be a pretty fun guest for the show because he's he's a guy that works at a lumber yard, but actually has been, studying, the economy and economic patterns going back in history for quite some time. And he's got some, pretty interesting, like pedestrian, takes that are understandable. And, with everything going on, he's got something to say.
Cool. Yeah.
He's an interesting dude. So, I just,
I'll see if we can get him. The economic stuff is front and center right now, so that'd be a good guess. I just got his email actually, and I dropped it in my chat with Mark, but I'll send him an email. We'll see if we can get him on.
Well, cool. That'd be it'd be cool to see him on.
Cool. Anything else, man?
No, that was pretty much it. I'm usually not so great talking on the phone. So
it's all good. No, you're doing a fantastic job. You're killing it, and we'll try and get him on. And then when he comes on, though, you got to call in. That's the rule. If you request,
yeah, I guess I'll actually have to think of something interesting to talk about instead of
Yeah.
bullshitting my.
Oh, I mean, if you watch a lot of his videos, I'm sure you can come up with a question. Certain of it. All right, thanks, buddy. Gimp gladly, everybody. We got yep from Texas. Yep. Is he gonna pick up? That's the question. Are we gonna get a pickup from yep or no? God damn it. People are struggling with fucking picking up the goddamn shit tonight. All right, let's go to Drew. Yep from Texas did not pick up. Drew, on the other hand, is a high-value male. Picks up right away. Drew, what's up?
What's up, Danny?
How's it going? I hope you're watching on the correct channel this week with the chat.
I am, doggy, dude. By the way, shout out Ken Gladly, dude. That's a true dog. And
Yes,
also,
sir.
I got to address the rumors.
Yeah.
I'm not related to Slav, just to sound like him.
You guys don't sound that the same.
No
Are you,
relation,
Are you
dude.
from the South?
No, dude. I'm from California, dude.
Yeah, you sound like a California guy. Slav is like a Texas guy, even though I think he was like born in the Soviet Union or Russia or whatever.
No, people say we sound alike, and I'm like, no, dude.
No,
That's just the
you
alcohol.
got laid back. Yeah, maybe the alcohol, but you got more like a laid back West Coast drawl. He's got a more
I
like
do have some
angry
drunken
racist.
things I wrote down here, though.
Let's hear them.
All right. Also, for Slav, this is something for Slav. People aren't hyenas, dude. Don't be calling people hyenas. I get it, but come on, dude.
Yeah.
He did say that earlier.
He did. He also dropped a. I don't know if I'm allowed to. I guess you could say kike, but I don't know how YouTube feels about it. Guys, YouTube, I'm Jewish.
You
I'm
can
allowed to
say
say
it.
I can say
I
it.
can't say it. I'm German.
I mean,
I definitely can't say it.
Nobody even. That's like the one slur where people are like, you know what? Jew does all the heavy lifting. You don't even need kike. Jew does it. Jew does
You
the
really
trick.
don't.
No, Jews. Like
Also, I do want a
3
Connor
letters.
update.
Connor's doing.
And also a Connor update with do you wash Connor's little dog leg?
So I'll say this. Connor's doing great. My dog Connor's doing great. He's been walking. We're up to like 15-minute walks, like 3 or 4 times a day right now. He can do like hills because he had to be on flat ground before. He can do hills and stuff. He's still hopping a little bit when he tries to like move quick. He's not fully back. I got to
hell
take
yeah,
it.
dude.
I got to take it. I'm taking him tomorrow morning. He does this like water treadmill thing at this PT place. I got to take him early tomorrow morning, and he goes in this like it's this tank with a treadmill on the bottom, and then he goes in, and then the water like fills up to like his stomach, and then he has to go on a water treadmill where he's like half underwater for like half an hour. So I'm doing that tomorrow. I don't bathe
So he
Connor.
works out like a fat lady?
Kind of, because basically the idea behind the water thing is that because you're a little buoyant, you can't like favor one leg over another. You have to just use both legs equally. So we're doing that. And then I don't bathe Connor. The wife bathes Connor, but I do sometimes clean his ass when he happens to take a shit that's messy.
So the dog does have his legs washed.
He has his.
I
My
just wanna
wife.
get this
My
on
wife.
record,
My
for the
wife.
record.
For the record, and my wife would like this to be of record that she bathes him quite a lot, more than he would like, and way more than I would if I just owned him by myself. If I owned him by myself,
Hell
I'd
yeah,
probably
dude.
I'd probably bathe the dog once a month. She probably bathes him like twice a week, and he hates it.
So the dog definitely has his legs washed.
He's got cleaner legs than I do, legitimately.
Yeah, all right. Danny, also last question before
Yes,
I go.
sir.
What's your favorite soup? Can you give
Ramen.
me a soup shout out?
Ramen all day. Ramen till I die. Not like top ramen though, like Japanese restaurant, like an izakaya or whatever.
No,
like
real ramen.
Real ramen.
You're talking about you're bringing your dog to a water dog park for fucking therapy. Of course
Yeah.
you're eating fucking real ramen.
Although I actually don't hate like a cup of soup ramen, like the whatever, like sometimes I will find myself eating that shit when I'm sick, when I'm at home. I have no problem with it. But in terms of, the only time I ever eat soup outside of my home is ramen. That's it. That's it. So.
All right, hell yeah. Hey, thanks for the Connor update, dude. Love you, dude.
Thanks,
love the
love
doggy.
everybody. Thank you for
dude.
asking. Thank you for asking. Connor's doing great. Thanks, buddy. Drew, everybody. Okay, yep, from Texas. Let's go to Joe the lawyer. Let's see what he wants to say. We also have Jared waiting, and wouldn't it be funny if I connected them both at the same time? Joe, what's up?
Hey, so I just wanted to call in and correct Slav on something.
Yes. Please do.
He's thinking about the Muslims. In the Quran, it says that you're allowed to lie to non-believers about what's in the Quran.
Gotcha.
The Torah does not allow that. It's one of the 10 Commandments is don't bear false witness. You can't swear falsely. That's literally like it's one of the worst things someone can do.
So more fake. Slav's getting popped left and right for his fake news. Matt got him. I got him last week. This guy's a fake news machine. That Slav.
Like one of the things with
I might start calling Slav MSNBC Slav. MSNB Slav. Guy's fake news.
If someone is accused of not paying back a loan and they claim they did pay it back, so they have to swear that they paid it back.
Yeah.
And it's so serious. So like if you're not 100% sure that whether or not you paid it back, better just pay it back than to risk swearing falsely.
Right. That's a
like
big one.
It is a very, very serious thing. Yeah. So, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, I believe. I mean, Slav, you got to take with a grain of salt because I generally don't. I feel like 10% of it he's on point. Joe, I think you replied to my tweet, but I saw this thing. There's this Jewish. I know it's a charity, but it's like this Hebrew thing where they give away free loans. And you don't even have to be Jewish?
Yes, it's called a gemach. These are not, crazy things. They're nonprofit organizations, usually run by synagogues, or just random people. And, they just...
Their interest
my wife runs one.
So if you look up interest-free loans, if you just search interest-free loans, the only thing that comes up is, the Hebrew Free Loan Society. Right. And, people on the internet would be like, oh, the Jews giving each other interest-free loans. And people always reply to me being like, Jews can give interest-free loans. It was because I reposted those two Asian guys talking about how you can walk into any bank in America. And if you're Jewish, you just go on Jewish.
It's not banks. These are private organizations. And it's not just loans. They have a bunch of, clothing gemachs. And basically it's just,
but you don't even have to be Jewish.
Together, they make these things, and it comes down to if you can show that you need it and you're trustworthy.
Yeah. Now, why don't the Christians do this for each other? Is it because they're generally untrustworthy people?
I have no idea. They should.
I know they should.
My wife has a bunch of medical stuff because at one point she was sick and needed a knee scooter and a whole bunch of, so we just have all that stuff. We never got rid of it. And we just keep it in our garage. And, everyone in the community knows, hey, you need something, call us up. We lend it out for free instead of you having to go rent it or whatever.
It's like a medical library.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And, and it's like people, if they need money, other people, the thing is, it's usually being lent out to people in the community who So you feel guilty, you're not going to not pay it back. You're not going to if you do, you'll feel very guilty about it,
right?
Because these are people that you're going to see, at least every week,
right? So you'd have to move towns and stuff. There's a real shame component.
People do that. Yeah, there are people that do that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
One of the things, and there are times where they give a loan and they know the person's not going to be able to pay it back. You just look at it more as a charity kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Someone says in the chat, Christians do this for each other. So then the Christians just have bad SEO is the answer.
Because I think it's just people here that Jews do it, and they're just like, let's see how far we can take this. It's
because nothing comes up. If you search interest-free loans, it's all government stuff, but then the first hit is the Hebrew Free Loan Society.
Yeah, well, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that have the word Hebrew in the title that have nothing to do. I personally have an issue.
Don't tell me Hebrew national hot dogs have nothing to do with Jews. That would be.
Do have what to do with the Jews, but they are not glatt kosher. I don't eat them.
That's no good. That seems like stolen valor almost. That's like stolen hot dog valor.
Well, I mean, it's fine.
That's the exact same Slav. That's the exact same thing Slav does. He goes, Wow, that's funny. Cool, Joe. Well, thank you for clearing that up. I have to wrap up the show, and I'm literally about to piss my pants. So thank you for calling in, Joe.
Just know, next time, just keep like a little bottle underneath. No one can see anyway.
I know. Well, the quartering, the podcast with the quartering, he streams from his basement. And one time on a stream, he was drunk and he peed in his, he had a little grate or whatever in his basement, like a little, and he peed in the grate because it was connected to the plumbing, and he has never lived it down. It comes.
I'm convinced that Joe Rogan used the catheter.
Yeah. No, they just take breaks.
I mean, I don't know how you do it. Oh, they take breaks?
No, Joe Rogan all the time. He'll be like, I got to take a piss. And then they just cut and come back. But this is live. And I don't have commercials.
What was it?
That's the thing. It's like when I do
Ryan said that he dehydrated himself beforehand. Something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, even Boys Cast. Sometimes Boys Cast, you wouldn't know it, but sometimes one of us will be like, I got to piss. And we just cut and just start back up. It's the power of...
Cory Booker.
Yeah, exactly. That was impressive. 25 hours.
It was pointless.
My wife can't even talk for 25 hours straight. She could go close, but not quite there. All right, Joe. Thank you, buddy. Good talking to you, man.
Okay, bye.
Joe the lawyer, everybody. All right. I'm sorry I couldn't get to any more of your calls, but it is 12 o'clock, and I got to piss so bad. Congrats to Poison 1553. Also, if you would like Poison... And if you would like to give away your Patreon membership because you already have one, you can do that too. That is an option. That has been the show, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me on another lovely episode of Low Value Mail. I appreciate all the scrotes. If you want to support this show, I know times are tough. Don't look at your 401ks. Sign up for your 401js right here. Patreon.com/lowvaluemail, MAIL. And catch me this Thursday night on Timcast IRL with Tim Pool. I'm going to be going down to West Virginia, God's country, as it were. All right, that's been the show. Thank you very much, everybody. Shout out to Matt Crumpton. Shout out to Mark, our incredible producer on the phones. Couldn't do it without him. That has been the show. Catch a new episode of The Bathhouse tomorrow night. We got Derek Drescher coming on. We got Clyde coming back on. Clyde Mack. Should be a fun one, 9 p.m. See you there. Good night!
I'm really a poet, you know it, all my shit heroic. Empathic abilities, yeah, my face be also stoic. Bleep, blow up, nigga, that just means I'm working. They see me as a leader, so that's why I'm Captain Kirkin. These tracks from the stars, that much is for certain. You can feel this hit if you up or if you hurting. I'm raising my stock, not talking my feet in some Birkin. Number Johnny 5, got a fucking short circuit. Bring the track to life when I spit phenomenally. When I hit, she feel that shit in her abdominals. These rappers make me laugh like comic view, they comical. You know I got a ball out, I hit the track running just like Sonic do. They don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah, they was trying to get me on my hype shit. Yeah, they don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah, and they tried to down me up some KO type shit. Yeah, they don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah, now we pulling up fresh on some flight shit. They don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah, they don't wanna turn on my light switch. They don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah, they was trying to get me on my hype shit. Yeah, they don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah, then they tried to down me up some KO type shit. Yeah, they don't wanna turn on my light switch.